Good morning, Raptor Freaks. Lexiot's here, and it's Sunday, and we're going to reattempt to do the PASCAL evolution. It's a Sunday special report that I had prepared for last week that YouTube did not cooperate, and I was not able to do my stream last week. So we're going to do the stream for last Sunday today. And honestly, the timing for do it today is much better than last week. Sometimes things work out a certain way for a reason. And I'm realizing this with this one. As far as last night, SIAKAM was crowned the Eastern Conference Finals MVP as the Indiana Pacers beat the New York Knicks last night, eliminating them from the playoffs and punching their ticket to the finals up against Oklahoma City Thunder. It's going to be a fantastic series featuring Canadians in it. 5 if you count Mr. SIAKAM. 3 of the 4 Canadians start. So this is different. You know, this is a trend that we've seen the last 2 years. Last year in the finals, Boston versus Dallas, we had 4 Canadians involved in that one, but most of them were not starters. They were all bench players. People like AJ Lawson, O'Shea Brissett, Prosper. You know, these guys were on. There are 4 Canadians in the finals last year, but not in the prominence of the 4 Canadians that are going to be playing in this year's finals with SGA, Lou Dort, Andrew Nebhart, Benedict Mathurin, and if you want to count SIAKAM, honorary Canadian, 5 Canadians. So this is a historic thing. It's a symbol of the rise of Canada basketball and the preeminence of great players coming from this country. That's right. But yeah, we're going to focus on SIAKAM today, and I'm going to kind of go over his whole entire life to get to this point where he becomes Eastern Conference Finals MVP last night. Is interesting. They could have gone with Tyrese, but they didn't. And thank God they didn't. And they recognized the real guy, even though ESPN's putting all Tyrese's face all over the page this morning afterwards. That doesn't change the fact that SIAKAM got the hardware. ESPN, you jerks. Yeah, so proud of SIAKAM. And a lot of other people are too. But yeah, look at this bad boy right here. That's right. This is what SIAKAM's got that a lot of the other Indiana Pacers do not have, and this is a Raptors championship ring. And, I'll bust this thing out every once in a while, especially when it's a championship-worthy type of stream with a champion like PASCAL SIAKAM. Now, how the hell did PASCAL SIAKAM become Eastern Conference Finals MVP? Well, he got it last night. What kind of path led this young man from Douala, Cameroon, to get to this point in his life? It wasn't exactly what it was supposed to be, and it was a very unbeaten path, a path that not many people have gone. And honestly, in some ways, there's some lucky breaks and lucky things that happened for SIAKAM to be on this journey and destiny that got him to holding this hardware above his head next to Ernie Johnson last night. It wasn't for sure. It wasn't even conventional. It wasn't even something where it's like you could have predicted it in any kind of way. Seriously. Maybe Masai could have predicted the first day that he saw PASCAL SIAKAM with Luke Mbabante in Africa at a Basketball Without Borders event. Maybe he could have predicted it when he saw this kid because Masai's like that. But I think most people would have never, ever predicted this. And each step of the way, there's all kinds of reasons why. Now, I may talk for a while right now. I may talk for like a half an hour before I even look at y'all's comments, just so y'all know, because I have a lot to say. SIAKAM, of course, grew up with older brothers, and all 3 of his older brothers had dreams of basketball. But SIAKAM didn't. No, he didn't. He didn't care about basketball. He wanted to play soccer, and he was just living a happy-go-lucky life. Basketball was something that his brothers Christian, James, and Patrick enjoyed. And they actually had dreams to come to the United States, and they did. They came to the United States, and they played Division I basketball here in this continent. But SIAKAM never had those dreams like his other 3 brothers. So why did he get to this point and not those other 3 guys? I don't know. You know, when he was little, his dad was like, "PASCAL, you're going to become a priest." And SIAKAM was like, "Okay, Dad. All right." And he's like, "You got to go to this school. It's seminary. You got to go down there, and I want you to take the classes." "Oh, okay, Dad. I'll go down there." In some ways, SIAKAM wasn't really having it, though. He went down there. He went to that preschool, And he was kind of like, I'm not feeling this, man. I'm not feeling this exactly, Dad. And but he didn't want to disappoint his father, so he continued to go. But it wasn't really in the cards. You know, the talk about Siakam supposed to be becoming a priest is true to a degree in the eyes of his father, but was never in the eyes of Pascal himself. It just wasn't in the cards. It wasn't the right fit. It wasn't the right feel. And if there's anything I've learned about Pascal Siakam, it's about feel and what feels right and going in that direction. And well, this didn't feel right. So one day, him and his brothers went to a Basketball Without Borders event. Luke Matabati, who played in the NBA with, and also Masai Ujiri was there. And Siakam wasn't even there for himself. Siakam was there because his brother was there, and he was just tagged along. And as I said, Siakam didn't really play organized basketball or try to train on basketball or anything until very late. And I'm going to go over this, why this is a really good thing, because I've talked about this lately, is that I think that some of these players that come to basketball late actually have an advantage and a leg up, because when they're little, they learn bad habits and they become part of, like, ingrained into what they do in basketball court. And it's not necessarily the best stuff. In some ways, if you are not touching a basketball or trying to do stuff with a basketball until professionals that can train you correctly, you might have a leg up. Seriously. It's different for kids like Gary Trent Jr., Jalen Brunson, who have fathers who played in the NBA, and they can train them right from the start exactly correctly on how to do everything as a kid. But most kids don't have that, especially a kid in Cameroon who's not even that interested in basketball, and there's no infrastructure or many people that really know basketball to the degree that can train you right. So it's a fateful day that Siakam went down to that Basketball Without Borders and tagged along and kind of screwed around. And, well, they looked at him. They saw him. There was a certain athletic, physical specimen that Masai Ujiri pegged right then. And it was all over then. Once Ujiri saw him, it's time to talk and say, hey, listen, I know you're not as here like your brothers are, but we like to talk to you real quick and see what's up. You know, the wheels start to get in motion, and Siakam's like, you know what? Maybe I do have something with basketball. If this will save me from having to go and become a priest, I might have to do this, y'all. So it's kind of like it's a weird thing where it's kind of like Siakam was just in the right place at the right time. You know, if he had not been at that Basketball Without Borders event, I don't think any of this happens, guys. I don't think any of this happens. That if he had not tagged along like an annoying little brother would, and say, hey, Patrick, James, I want to come with you guys. I'm coming with you down there, okay? And then he went. And then what if Masai wasn't there? What if Masai wasn't there? And it was just any other people, and he just went under the radar and nobody saw him. That's why Siakam is really a beacon of success for Masai, because, listen, none of this happens without Masai. And that's when Masai says his success is my success. It's really a real thing. Because Siakam would never found his path to get here without being identified originally in that kind of way. And then, you know, he comes over and he's you know, it's very new to him. Everything's crazy. Everything's weird. In some ways, he never dreamed to come into North America. He was just going to be a kid in Cameroon and live in Africa. And it was all very new to him and strange and weird. And, you know, there were some sad things that happened too. It's like, you know, things like his father died while he's away. And then he couldn't go back to the funeral because he was in a dubious position with his visa and with his status to be able to be in the United States. So he couldn't go back for the funeral. And that's a sad thing. And, you know, he went to New Mexico State, which is a school that's not really, you know, all that and not very big spotlight. But he excelled and he showed promise. In some ways, I look at him as being very similar to Scottie Pippen and Dennis Rodman. It was the same thing. These guys went to absolutely small schools, Central Arkansas for Pippen and Southeastern Oklahoma State for Dennis Rodman. And these guys, when they joined their teams, they weren't even like, you know, Rodman was the equipment manager. I don't know if people know that. When he started his college career at Southeastern Oklahoma State, Dennis Rodman was not actually on the team. He was actually part of the equipment manager, but they saw how he was an athlete, and they're like, man, maybe we should let him play. Isn't that crazy? And Pippen, same thing. I mean, have you ever heard of Central Arkansas? And these guys are similar kind of body types as Siakam, and very, very good two-way players. and Siakam and Scotty. I don't know if you can call Dennis a two-way player, but maybe. But it's a similar thing. A small school, unknown, nobody sees them. It's kind of underground, but somehow, some way, NBA sees them, and they get flyers put on them. Scottie Pippen drafted by the Seattle Sonics, and of course Dennis Rodman drafted by the Detroit Pistons. And it's all history after that. Both those guys went on to become champions multiple time champions. Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman. Well, I think that Siakam may be a multiple champion too someday. He is a one champion with Toronto for sure. But man, he's showing that kind of body, athleticism, and type in basketball, it does still win, just like Scotty and Dennis before him. Yeah, the being under the shadows of New Mexico State in the middle of nowhere out there didn't mean that he was not going to get there. And you know what? Masai was always thinking about this from the moment he probably saw him at Basketball Without Borders. Is I'm going to keep a tab on PASCAL and New Mexico State. And well, you know what? I'm going to surprise people because I have such a good eye for talent. I really do see the potential that nobody else sees there. Nobody else is seeing him. It's all under the radar. And this is why Raptors fans should feel very, very safe in this draft season of June with the 2025 draft coming up later this month, is that Masai sees things that everybody else doesn't. And well, putting a flyer out in the first round of the 2016 draft and the 27th pick on PASCAL Siakam was met with chortles and laughs. Oh, PASCAL Siakam. Who the hell is that? Who is that? Who the hell is this guy? What was that name? I cannot even pronounce it. Oh, yo, this is funny. Yeah, they were laughing then. But it's definitely at this point that Ujiri and Siakam are laughing now. Very much laughing now. I mean, can you believe that? PASCAL Siakam is a 27th pick or something like that. 26th pick, 27th pick. That's at the tail end of the first round. I mean, why don't people talk about this kind of crap? You know, what we always hear all this stuff like, oh, we should have picked Desmond Bane over Malachi Flynn. Where are all the people that are in that draft that did not draft PASCAL Siakam come around saying, why didn't we pick PASCAL? Why didn't we pick PASCAL? Why didn't we? Because you're not Masai Ujiri. That's why, bitch. That's why you didn't pick him. You could have, but you slept on him. You didn't know about him. You couldn't see the underlying truth about Siakam like Ujiri could. And he may have been one of the only few people on this earth that could see the underlying truth about Siakam. He could have been one of the only people on earth that could have seen the underlying truth on Siakam. I would give a whole lot of money to see the mock draft boards and the draft rankings of the other 29 teams in the NBA that year and where they were putting Siakam. I bet you they wouldn't even on some people's lists. I bet you he wasn't even in the radar. I bet you he wasn't even anywhere in there, and he damn for sure wasn't in there for most of those teams because they didn't do nothing. He was there. He was lying right there. You could have took him. Maybe it's good that y'all didn't take him because a lot of y'all dropped the ball and fumble on developing good players. That's another thing that Siakam needs to be very, very thankful for, is that Ujiri was the one who found him, and Ujiri was the one who wanted him, and Ujiri was the one who captured him and brought him to Toronto. Because you know what? That's another very good, lucky thing that happened for PASCAL Siakam, was that he came to Toronto. He could have came to all kinds of other teams in this league and been mishandled, and his career would have been over already by now. Seriously. Look at a guy like Stanley Johnson. Stanley Johnson had a lot of different traits and abilities that could have been utilized and trained, and he could have become so much more in the NBA, but he was fumbled with by the Detroit Pistons and other teams in his early career that he never got off the ground going. So that's what I'm talking about. Siakam could have got drafted to so many different places. He's not an Eastern Conference Finals MVP like he is last night. So in some ways, that's another reason why Siakam loves Toronto so much, because he's probably smart enough to understand that without the guidance and the training and the development that he got in Toronto, he couldn't jump to the levels he's gotten to in his career, not let alone the environment, the terrain, the territory to allow him to grow into it and get to these points of achievement. Because, you know, there's no telling. He could have gone to Philadelphia and they could have screwed around with him and he would have just spin his wheels and gone nowhere. Now, there is an argument to say that the DNA and the work ethic and the way that Siakam is would have worked anywhere he gone, but that's not totally true, guys. You got to think about it. Opportunity and a good, positive, healthy environment are important for a young NBA player. It may be more so this way than ever with the lack of veterans in this league at this point. The veterans used to teach the kids how to play better. DeMar talked about this on the podcast, is saying, when I came in, the vets would teach you how to play the game right, how to be an NBA pro, how to do things in your NBA life correctly. And well, we got rid of all these vets, and some of these young guys just ain't learning right. And there was a youth movement that said, we don't need old people. We can get rid of them. Us young guys are so smart. We'll just come in and we'll know what we're doing in the NBA without any guidance. Well, some of them are failures at this point with that attitude. And, there's a reason why Garrett Temple keeps coming back for the Raptors. Let's just put it that way. I'm just saying, you got to have the right kind of spot that you land in. And you could have your career screwed up just because the wrong team drafts you and you go to the wrong place. So Siakam, as much as he was a physical specimen, a great motor, a fantastic athlete, a guy who could jump, a guy who could run, he wasn't really basketball trained. He really didn't know what the hell he was doing. And, the thing is, that didn't deter him. Some people show up late to the game and say, oh, I'm so many years behind. Gary Trent Jr. has been playing since he was 3 years old. And, man, I just started playing when I was 15 or something like that. And I'm like, what am I going to do, man? What do I do here? What do I do? Well, does he try and catch up? Yeah, he does. He hyper works out, goes crazy. And, he catches up and surpasses, honestly. I remember when Siakam came into the Raptors as being a huge Raptors fan for 30 years. And I had pigeonholed him as a certain type of player. And I really saw Rodman in him. It was to the point where I saw Rodman in him so much that I had thought he was just going to be a defender and a rebounder. And I had no idea the offensive game would explode and expand since like it has with Siakam in his career. I pegged him right away as an energy guy that can get offensive rebound putbacks, run the floor and finish the break. But I didn't see any of the shooting. I didn't see the 3-point shooting. I didn't see the spins. I didn't see any of that amazing offensive unstoppableness that he became. I feel stupid and it also humbles me because it makes me realize, bro, you're not Masai Ujiri. And Masai probably could see all that the whole time along, but I couldn't see it. Even in the first 2 years of Siakam being on the Raptors, I couldn't see it. In fact, it was the point where one day I was sitting on my front porch at Kensington Market and I looked across the street, Dundas Street at Kensington Avenue, and Jakob Poeltl's walking down the street with two young ladies. And I see Jakob, and this is when Jakob was on our team before he got traded with DeMar. This is the first stint when Jakob and PASCAL were rookies around then. I ran up to Jakob and I said, hey, Jakob, man, what's going on, man? I was like really excited to talk to Poeltl because, man, I think he's awesome. He's really tall. And I told him, I said, man, you got to tell your buddy Siakam, bro, to watch Dennis Rodman. And Jakob looked at me and he said, Dennis Rodman? That's old school shit, man. And I was like, yeah, I feel like if he watches Dennis, he can get really good at defense and rebounding. And Jakob's like, okay, I'll pass it along. And I was like, okay. I feel like an idiot for saying that now. Like, why did you tell Jakob Poeltl in like 2017, Lex, to go watch, to tell Siakam to go watch Dennis Rodman? You had miscalculated who Rodman was. And I was like, man, that's way low to aim for. I mean, he can do Rodman kind of stuff, defend all the different positions, get a lot of rebounds, stuff like that. But that's not his main focus. His main focus is just being himself and being the player he's supposed to grow into. And in some ways, Dennis never really made the focus on offense and trying to develop his offensive game in any kind of way like Siakam has. So I was completely wrong. I wonder, though, with that conversation, because I'll bet that they did go watch some Rodman. And maybe Siakam watched him. He's like, yeah, man, you know what? This guy's good. I like some of the stuff he's doing. I probably could take from him, but I have bigger aspirations. I have bigger dreams. Yeah, it was awesome, man. And I'll bet you Jakob watched some Rodman himself, and he took some of the techniques from himself for his rebounding. But I had totally pegged him wrong. I was very happy with Siakam being on our team. Rodman's one of my favorite players in the history of the NBA. And having a Rodman player type, like with that body and that kind of energy and that kind of hustle, I was all about having the Rodman version for the Raptors and PASCAL Siakam. But I had not realized that this man's more Scottie Pippen than Dennis Rodman. Yeah, that this guy's more Scottie Pippen than Dennis Rodman, that two-way would be more honed and developed and more the offense would just become such a more important part of his game. In fact, it's crazy. I was reading his Wikipedia earlier, and it says on his Wikipedia that in the NBA, he's widely considered one of the most versatile defenders in the league. I'm like, who the fuck is saying that? Is anybody out there saying this? Because I don't hear anybody crowing about Siakam's defense. They should, and it's true. He's a very good defender, but it always gets overlooked because the things he's doing on offense are just so amazing. Then it's an afterthought that he's also a good defender on top of it. And he honestly doesn't get enough due for how he is as a defensive player. Seriously, he should maybe be considered for all defensive teams in the future, but for certain reasons, we know that may never happen. Whether it's him starting his career in Toronto or the fact that he's very much a strong offensive player, and that part of his game overshadows the great defensiveness that he does also. But yeah, Siakam came here, and this is the thing. We've been talking about the DeRozan code this week. The DeRozan code is something that comes from DeMar. And it is a philosophy that's derived also in part from Mamba mentality. The great mentor Kobe Bryant towards DeMar DeRozan, teaching him as a young kid. Well, this knowledge is so awesome. I remember when DeMar, I knew that DeMar and Kobe had a special relationship, and when Kobe was starting to wind down his career, he really did start to pass the heritage of who he is to certain people. And DeMar was one of them. Kobe Bryant did not have to talk to or share knowledge or proprietary knowledge about footwork or things about how he did what he did in the NBA to be so successful. But he picked certain people that he did talk to. And DeMar was one of them. In some ways, DeMar DeRozan was an heir apparent to Mamba mentality because Kobe picked him and wanted him to be that kid because he saw the work ethic and the DeRozan code in DeMar that would be like, he's going to honor and treat this properly in the way that I would want him to. And I can't just talk to any knucklehead in the NBA and say, I want you to do this and this and this after I'm gone. In some way, and with Kobe's passing, we realize it's more and more just how important it was that Kobe Bryant put some stuff on DeMar DeRozan before he left as far as knowledge. That's the thing. That is a big part of it is DeMar's footwork is so good because Kobe taught him, man. Kobe taught him a lot, and people don't realize that. Well, it's a real luxury and a pleasure that the person that Kobe wanted to teach was not totally a Laker. He may have tried to teach some of the Lakers, but they were knuckleheads. He was like, man, I can't teach D'Angelo. I can't teach these guys. Fuck these guys. I'm going to go talk to DeMar. He always was the one I respected and liked the most out of the young crop coming up in the NBA. And so we're lucky in some ways that DeMar was our guy and he was Toronto first. I got you. I'll put you on my back because the knowledge that was given to DeMar from Kobe Bryant was very, very proprietary. It's like KFC's original recipe kind of shit. Kobe don't want to go around and just teach everybody what he's doing straight from his mouth. No, you can watch him like Brandon did and try and learn it. Brandon Ingram, watching him and mimicking him. But he actually talked to DeMar and told him the secrets. And that's different than observing and trying to copy. And we're just lucky and privileged that DeMar DeRozan was a Raptor. And that, this is a huge part of something with Siakam too, is what I'm trying to get to right here. Is that, when Siakam came into the league as a rookie with the Raptors, he came with Freddie and Norman and DeLon and OG and those guys, the bench mob. Well, they had two great leaders at that time in DeRozan and Lowry. And you got good leadership in different ways from the two of them. Lowry, well, we know all about the GOAT and his leadership and what he does. And he calls PASCAL his beloved. And, he has a very special relationship with Siakam. I'm sure Lowry's overjoyed for Siakam's success right now. But he's not the one necessarily that taught Siakam the stuff that I'm about to talk about. That was DeRozan. And you know what it is? It's that work ethic. It's partly that work ethic. Siakam, I don't know what his work ethic was like as a kid. Maybe he was just like a lazy kid who liked to goof around and kind of have fun. He was just a natural athlete until it got serious, until it got to a certain thing, until he met Rico Hines. It probably wasn't in totally like in his DNA active, but it became active from dormant when he found the structure, the enjoyment of the workout regimen and going hard every single day. He must have fell into it really hard and fast because Rico Hines to this day says the hardest working player I've ever worked with in my entire career is PASCAL Siakam. And we know Rico Hines' runs are legendary. We know Rico Hines has touched most of the great players in this era as far as training with them. Russell Westbrook, James Harden, so many good players have gone through those gyms at UCLA under the tutelage of Rico Hines. And he says, bar none, far away, number one is Pascal Siakam. So how did he do that? Why did he do that? What is going on with him? Well, that's the DeRozan code. I'm telling you right now. DeMar talked about on the podcast this week that him and Kyle used to compete to work out harder than each other. DeMar would want to get down to the training center for the Raptors, and Kyle would already be down there. He finished his workout. He'd be sweating and like done with his weights. And he'd be like, yeah, I already been here for 2 hours, DeMar. Where the hell you been? Look at that kind of compete going on with the leaders on your team, DeRozan and Lowry, for setting a tone for a young rookie from Cameroon named Pascal Siakam. That's what I'm saying. They saw from the start DeRozan's work ethic, which is begotten from Mamba mentality of Kobe Bryant. And the Kyle Lowry stuff's not as important to talk about right now, because the Kyle Lowry stuff is intelligence and headiness and desire and, just pure kind of being an asshole too. But the DeRozan stuff is like the first level of learning to what it takes to be an NBA player, to excel, to progress, and get better every year. In fact, we talked about this on the DeRozan Code podcast I did on Friday about how DeMar's never resting on his laurels and saying, this is good enough. This is good enough. I am as good as I should be. I'm fine. I'm going to be this for the rest of my life. No, he's never been that. And in some ways, that mentality got passed to Pascal immediately. Because seriously, where at any point could a Siakam just said, yeah, I've done it, man. I'm as good as I want to be, and I'm coasting for the rest of my career. I have the biggest bag of money. I'm doing things way beyond my dreams. I didn't even have a dream like this. This is just something that just came about. Why should I continue to work hard? Because DeMar did. Because DeMar showed me when I was a rookie. Because DeMar, even though he was at the top of the league, kept working so hard in the offseason, broadening his game and his bag and what he could do every single year. He brought something new back. And that, in some ways, set the tone for a young Siakam, DeRozan code. That it's like, don't rest on your laurels, Siakam. Don't come in here on your athletic talents and gifts and just coast on them like so many players do in the NBA. Like so many players do in the NBA. And the thing that separates somebody like Pascal Siakam and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is the consistency, the work ethic, and the hard work that makes them MVPs of their conference finals. That's the reason why those guys got those awards over the guys that they defeated on their quest to the NBA championship this year, is because they went harder, worked harder, were more consistent, and busted their ass to earn this. They did it so much and so much repetition that it's second nature. They could do it in their sleep. They could do it while they're talking to you, drinking a cup of coffee, and they could do it still because they've ingrained it inside of themselves. That is just what they do because it's so consistent and they've worked so damn hard, so much time that it's just how it is. Andy Edwards, you may be out now from SGA and you're going to say, I'm going to work harder than anybody this summer. Bullshit. You will not work harder than Pascal Siakam. And I will tell you right now, you can ask Rico Hines whether you're working harder than Pascal Siakam. He'll tell you the damn truth to your face. I'm telling you right now, seriously. So this is an important part of why the evolution of Siakam was successful. DeRozan code and the early influence of DeMar DeRozan and his work ethic on the rookie Pascal Siakam. In fact, we could thank him for our whole crop of these guys in some ways, DeMar and Kyle, for Freddie, OG, Norman, Pascal. All these guys are excelling right now in the NBA and are blowing up, and everybody's saying, wow, that Raptors team was stacked. That 2019 championship team was stacked. That one up in the corner up there, above me, right there, above the trophy. Wow, it was stacked. It was stacked. Well, in some ways, that's why I'm saying I love DeRozan so much, because not only did he bring success and culture to our team, a respect to our team, then brought our team to elevated place, he also taught the young ones to carry on the traditions, and they carried it forth. And the fact that the two most loyal players in the history of the Toronto Raptors are DeMar DeRozan and Pascal Siakam. He got that loyalty from him too, from DeRozan. So DeRozan code is thick and heavy inside the veins of Pascal Siakam, and it's a huge part of the reason why he's been so successful in his career. So successful. 2 years into his career, he started showing offensive signs on a whole other level that I was shocked. And that's the crazy thing. That's what I'm saying. This was what Masai saw that I didn't see. And then, boom, all of a sudden, Siakam's points per game is picking up. Yeah. Did y'all know this? Listen to this fun fact. Pascal Siakam had never attended an NBA game live until he played in one. The very first game, and this is the crazy thing, he started that game too. He wasn't off the bench. The first game he ever played as a rookie for the Raptors, he started, and that was the first ever NBA game he had attended live in his entire life. He had never been to an NBA game in his life. The first time he showed up in an arena at an NBA game, he was starting in it. That's just how sheltered and away from the NBA he was. This kid was not watching basketball when he was a kid. This kid was not playing basketball when he was a kid. He was playing football, aka soccer. And this was not on his horizon. That's the craziest thing about it. Can you believe that man had never been to an NBA game? Even, I guess, New Mexico State's not really close to any market. He never went to any NBA game until he started in one. It's crazy. Another thing that helped in Siakam's evolution was the injury of Jared Sullinger. Jared Sullinger was supposed to start for the Raptors the year he was on the team from Ohio State, but he got hurt, and it elevated Siakam a little early into the starting lineup. But the crazy thing was that was an amazing thing to happen because it just took, and it was perfect, and no stopping from there. So in some ways, Siakam is thankful that Sullinger got hurt and that he took his starting spot from him, basically. So yeah, there's so many things that happen on this journey that set up Pascal for success. Like, he had to meet Masai. He had to meet DeMar. He had to have certain breaks happen for him. Of course, he toiled in the G League, and he's recently said that if you're in the G League, he said this to his Indiana Pacers teammates at the beginning of the year. He said, guys, if you're in the G League and you don't like it, go down there and kick so much ass and show them you don't deserve to be down there. Because this man went to G League, and he should have, because in some ways he was late to the game. He needed that development down there. So they're calling him Pascal Siakam. Him and Freddie are like the two greatest stories of the G League ever. They're the biggest success stories in G League history, honestly. Siakam's probably number one now, but Freddie's probably number two. The most successful G League products ever in the history of the NBA are Raptors 905 G League products. And Siakam went and with Fred, and like, even though he didn't want to be in Mississauga, they went and got a championship, and Siakam became a finals MVP in the G League finals. So he got hardware on the development level before he even got up here. And you know what that portends? That portends and shows that in the future, that man's going to be getting hardware somewhere else too. If he's at the top level on that level, well, he's going to get hardware on the other level. And it wasn't that long that he did. 2019, 2 years later, he added a championship trophy to his trophy case. So this is what's going on here, man. It seems like winning follows Siakam around with him. What is going on? What is that? What is that? Maybe it's just the kind of way he is. Maybe it's the work ethic. Maybe it's the unselfishness. Maybe it's just the DeRozan code that was given to him from DeMar, as far as like what way to carry yourself and never rest on your laurels. Work hard, try and beat everybody, do as best you can. You know, that kind of stuff. Because it's true. There's so many guys in this league that are on cruise control, and they're not actually trying to get better. And they're kind of half-assed in their lives. They may not work out as much as y'all think. Seriously. You can tell who works out. I mean, does Siakam have a single ounce of fat on his body? I mean, Stillman and I were talking last night. Has Siakam ever been hurt in his career for a major length of time? Maybe he did the splits in Dallas that one time when the floor was wet, and he missed some time, and that messed up that one season with getting guys all healthy at the same time so we could see them together. But I can't remember Siakam missing a season or half season too much. I think for the most part, Siakam's been very durable and has not been getting hurt hardly at all. In some ways, he's very LeBron-like for that. I would say that. So, yeah, Siakam started showing offensive signs. He was doing some amazing things at G League. And, yeah, things just started opening up. The Raptors bench mob matured, and along with the starters of Serge and Mark and Kyle and Kawhi at that point, they were able to go get the championship. And Siakam was second banana to Leonard as far as the scoring. And here's the other comparison to Scottie Pippen. You know, in the history of the NBA, duos and playoff runs score cumulative points. Siakam and Leonard had the second most points as a duo in a playoff run, second to only Jordan and Pippen. So there's another, once again, comparison to Scottie Pippen to Pascal Siakam. He is very much like a Scottie Pippen of his era. In some ways, that's the comparison some people need to start making more, is Siakam. You know, he doesn't steal the ball exactly like Scotty used to. I mean, there's certain things that he does better than Scotty, and Scotty did better than Pascal back when he played. But there's a lot of similarities in certain ways between those two players. There really is. There really, really is. So yeah, Siakam, you know, he had to learn about loyalty from DeMar and working hard and doing those kind of things. And he kept going with it. You know, Rico Hines saw some good in him, continues to work with him, takes special interest in working with Siakam. And this all accelerated him. This all, you know, if he's going to put in the time, the effort, and the intensity into his workouts, he's going to get far fast. And that's what happened. He surpassed all kinds of stuff quickly. And in fact, you know, the crazy thing is this has never happened in the NBA either. And I'm going to say this right now. Pascal Siakam won the most improved player award the year we won the championship. That's never happened in the history of the NBA. They never, ever give a most improved player award to a player on the championship team. That never happened in the history. It's never happened. That's the only time. And that's a testament to just how much his leap, skip, and a jump to prevalence and how important he was on our championship year from the year before. He really did make a huge leap. And that's partly from the work ethic, from the Mamba mentality, from the DeRozan code, from the I got to be better than everybody. So I'm going to work harder than them, bust my ass in the offseason and do everything behind the scenes to get here. You know, this is the thing. SGA and Pascal don't get these trophies this week without putting in that time, that effort, and that work that makes them earn it. And, you know, that's a big part of it. It's like you got to be a special breed. I feel like this sometimes, like, and I would say this about myself. I enjoy structure. I enjoy organization. I thrive in it. And, you know, a person like Scotty Barnes or Pascal Siakam, when they come to Toronto and the organization has everything kind of laid out for them and the schedule and what they should be doing, in some ways, people thrive under that. I know I do. I bet you Scotty really enjoys having the structure and the ability to look at his schedule and say, this is what I'm doing then, this is what I'm doing then. I'm making sure I'm hitting all my workouts on time and stuff like this. And like I said, everything that was passed down to Siakam from DeRozan and Lowry, well, guess what he did before he left and went to Indiana with Scotty. That's what I'm saying. This legacy, this culture, this respect for the Raptors is passed from player to player. You know, maybe Siakam doesn't respect the team as well with DeRozan not around. If we have a jabroni team with a Chris Bosh kind of team and Chris Bosh is being the leader he was before the team, do you think that he passes down the respect and loyalty and desire to play for the Raptors like DeRozan does? No. And maybe Pascal doesn't have that influence to be so loyal in the way he was towards Toronto. I'm just saying. You know, DeRozan is so important to the Raptors franchise, man. And in some ways, Siakam is too, because he's an extension of that. And Scotty is also. That's an important thing. That's what culture is. That's why they got to pass this down from each edition of the Raptors every year that comes out. You know, Scotty needs to be teaching this shit to our young rookies, Jonathan and Jameson, Jamal, and Jacoby and Ulrich. Teach the respect and the hard work and the ways of people like Siakam, DeRozan, and Leonard from before them. You know, that didn't hurt that he got up close to Kawhi Leonard for a season. They've said it in interviews. A lot of those Raptors that were on that team, Fred and Pascal, OG, they've all said that they gleaned techniques and ways to do things from Kawhi. And it wasn't necessarily that Kawhi was teaching them by verbally telling them. They were watching him by example. They could see how he handled his workouts and what he was doing to get to the level of who he is. And they copied. They did. And I think that even that year of Kawhi, it was such a successful, amazing career, the best career for Kawhi in his whole entire career, his best year. And it was really good for the Raptors in all kinds of ways, whether it was the championship itself, but also the fact that we had a one-year rental of a player of his caliber and that he could rub off and be around people like Siakam and OG and Fred, that it really, in some ways, that's part of the reason why these guys are so badass right now, too. Seriously. Everybody going to go on about how stacked our championship team was. Well, these are part of the reasons why these guys have gone on to succeed so well, because they did copy some stuff from Leonard while he was with us, you know. So Siakam found amazing heights and success early in his NBA career and in his G League career. Lots of hardware already. MVP of the G League, 2 championship trophies on both levels, and starting to get things like an all-star. The next year, he was an all-star. He got all NBA a couple times. He's been a 3-time all-star now since. He's gotten little accolades here, most improved player. Lots of hardware for Siakam. One of the most decorated Raptors. And that's why I get pissed off when people start making their best Raptors top 5 and they overlook Siakam. Anybody who doesn't put Siakam in their top 3 is omitting this and not doing this correctly. You can put him up against Vince Carter, and he has a way better resume versus Vince Carter for accolades. And y'all can go ahead and say, well, Vince, we aren't nothing without Vince. That's true. And the dunk championship and all that's important. But you know what? Once again, I'll say that sizzle, and I'll go with steak, which is what Siakam is. Y'all can have your Vince Carter sizzle of dunks and exhibition bullshit. I'll take the hardware and the championships of Siakam when I'm gauging who's a better Raptor. And, that's why I say the Mount Rushmore for me, 3 of them have championship rings. That's what I'm saying. Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, and DeMar DeRozan. That is the greatest 4 Raptors in my book ever in the history of the Raptors. You can talk about Kawhi, Chris Bosh, and Vince Carter till you blue in the face. I'll make cases against all 3 of them why they are not better than any of those 4. And, Siakam, he had such heights of excellence and had amazing veteran teammates that taught him so much. People like Serge Ibaka, Marc Gasol. And then all of a sudden, there was a crash after the championship. We saw it. They were really good the year after. They had the best statistical record ever in the history of the Raptors. The year after the championship, we had a better team, and we actually had a better record without Leonard. But then the pandemic happened. Everybody had to sit at home. And Siakam kind of messed up his DeRozan code. He did not work out. He was confused. It was weird. It was totally different than anything. In some ways, he was probably thinking, man, I don't know if we're going to play again this year. I'm just going to binge watch Netflix and hang out at my house and just not do anything. In some ways, the Raptors should have been more proactive in that situation to get their players access to get down to OVO Center. I know it was tough because there was a lot of lockdowns, and in some ways, we're a little more stringent here in Canada about COVID protocols than the States in a lot of places. Certain places didn't really give a shit at all down the States. But here in Canada, we treated it responsibly. And we actually had better outcomes with unnecessary deaths during the pandemic because of that. But alas, Siakam was not put in the work during it. We got the bubble, and he was not in the right shape to play against the Celtics. And in that 7-game series, we lost. A lot of blame was put on him. And in some ways, that was probably the darkest time in his career, was that he felt the blame. He felt it on his shoulders. Everything had been so easy, not easy, but going so well and just kind of like positive, that when the negative hit all of a sudden in the bubble, that was a new feeling for him. He needed that contrast, though, guys. I'm going to say this right now, because in some ways he was spoiled. He was spoiled. He had it so good with being around Kawhi and DeMar and Kyle and collecting wins and stuff. Those guys had to go away, and he had to try and stand on his own and be that guy leading the Raptors, being their franchise player. Now, this was something I knew he was going to have to do after Kawhi left. Kyle's not necessarily a franchise leader and kind of that guy. He's an important leader, and he's that kind of guy, but he's not a franchise player in the way of the sense that you need him to be. And I knew Siakam was the heir apparent. Obviously, if he was going to be second banana to Kawhi Leonard in our championship year, he was the heir apparent to take over and be the next franchise player. And well, after the debacle in the bubble and him failing, he felt some different things that he never felt around basketball. And that was persecution and depression and kind of like feeling down that he let everybody down. And that was tough, man. In some ways, I'll bet you Siakam didn't really have problems with depression until after the bubble, because you could tell he gets down on himself at times. He gets really, really feels like if he's not doing well, he will take a lot of personal accountability inwardly towards himself. And that's not totally fair to himself. Honestly, you were young. That was an unprecedented event, the pandemic, and everybody reacted in weird ways. And I'm going to say this right now, Siakam, you were not the only one that did not do what they were supposed to do during the pandemic. There were other guys too. It's just that your situation was more put on the forefront, and especially by Raptors fans being toxic, put out there more and more, made a spotlight on. But there were tons of guys around the NBA that, did not do things right that year and were not exactly right in those playoff bubble and stuff like that. So in some ways he took it hard, but he needed that contrast. He needed the negativity after all that positivity, and he needed to come down to earth and be a little more grounded about the reality of success and failure, because all he had was success for the most part. So they had to go to Tampa the next year. And this is really the first year in some ways. I mean, I guess he was the franchise player kind of in the year before, but Mark and Serge were still around, and we had most of the championship core still together. And Siakam may have been the most important player as far as the score after Kawhi left, but he still had a lot of help around him. But the year in Tampa was the year that was tough, because that year he was bona fide the franchise player for the Raptors. That year was so weird, man. They had fans coming down there booing against them, and you're supposed to be at home. Everything was confusing and turned upside down, and it was miserable. They were away from where they're used to. They weren't in Canada. It was all kinds of issues. And the fact that the Raptors weathered that Tampa season so well is a huge success. And I will continue to say this. I've said it immediately afterwards. I said, if any of the other franchises in the NBA had to do what the Raptors had to do in that season, they would be in such bad shape right now afterwards. But because Masai Ujiri, Bobby Webster, Teresa Resch are so good at their job, they set up Tampa so well in the worst kind of possible situation. And that, honestly, I still look at Amalie Arena and Tampa as a success story for the Raptors, because it is something you just can't win in any kind of way. You're going to take losses for having to do that. And the Raptors sailed that ship through that crazy ass year with the least kind of damage. They did really good with controlling damage from it. Honestly, they could have had repercussions still being felt right now from Tampa. In some ways, on the down low, we probably do have them still, but they're not as bad as they could have been in certain ways. But yeah, this was tough. We needed the difference between this and this. And I remember watching the Raptors begging Siakam to be more of the leader for the team, be more of the franchise team player. And I wanted you to be the guy who could be clutch at the end of the game, take us home. I wanted you to be the guy that did this stuff. And it was frustrating, but he was on his own schedule. And in some ways, his development and his ticks of achievement getting up higher and higher each year were on his own schedule, not on my perception of telling him when he should do it. That's the one thing that fans need to realize. These guys are on their own schedule. And this is a very good thing to say about Scotty right now. People are going to want Scotty to be this and this, and what they see, he think that he should be, but he's on his own schedule, and he's on his own progress and development curve that he sees, and he's on, and it's naturally going to be what he should do. And we don't have anything to do with that. I wish that Siakam could have miraculously just turned into a franchise clutch player right at the end of when Leonard left, and everything he did was Leonard-like, and he took over, and he was like, don't worry, guys, I got us, just like Leonard would. But that wasn't the case. In some ways, it was a little muddled with Van Vliet and Anunoby and other guys around, Scotty showing up as a rookie, as far as who could take over and do different things. And in some ways, it was a shared group thing. But I kind of wanted Siakam to just rise above the other guys and do this. And I wondered at that time, would Siakam ever evolve to that level? Well, I'm going to say he has at this point. And how did he do it? Well, it took a change of scenery and a new cast of characters around him, and a more mature approach. And I'm realizing that at this point now, things have flipped. I'm the DeMar DeRozan to the team. I'm the guy who has to teach DeRozan code and how Siakam does it to young players like Jarace Walker and Johnny Furpey and Benedict Mathurin. So it's like, it's a weird thing, man, the evolution of Siakam, because it comes from nowhere. It comes from nowhere, absolutely nowhere. Unknown, out of the blue. This man could have been totally unseen ever, not got this opportunity any kind of way if he had not tagged along to that Basketball Without Borders event. And Masai Ujiri just happened to be there. I'm telling you right now, in some ways, it is a fluke. The whole thing that happened to Siakam is a fluke. It's totally was supposed to happen, and it naturally happened. But in some ways, the chances of it happened, I don't know what the odds were. In some ways, it's like this man didn't go to a convenience store and buy a lottery ticket. This man did win something on lottery odds, though. And he does have the fortune like a lottery winner. But I'm telling you, man, this is one of the most unlikely NBA stories ever in the history of the NBA, and one of the most successful, honestly, from coming from where he's at. And that's why, in some ways, I hate when people do not give Siakam and Van Vliet their due deserves, because they're the same in that. They both came from totally unknown places that they shouldn't have done what they did in the NBA that they're doing today. They really shouldn't have. And the evolution of Siakam from a kid who never was into basketball. He didn't watch basketball when he was in his, before 10. He didn't watch any basketball. He didn't know anything about basketball. He knew basketball vicariously through his older brothers, but that's it. And so it's like, it's crazy. The path, the unlikely path, and then the evolution of him. And the reason why the evolution happened was hard work. Rico Hines workouts, working hard, like Mamba mentality, DeRozan code, never resting on your laurels. He gets that first big contract. He gets a huge amount of money, the more money than his whole entire family has ever seen in their entire lives. And does he stop working? No. He doubles down and hits it even harder. He says, stop playing piano with your life and get back out there at 5:30 in the morning and get to work, like Emmanuel Quickly in Hawaii right now. I'm just saying, man. You know, it's amazing. If we're doing a stunted growth, we'll do the opposite. This is how he did it. He was in the right place at the right time. He had the right people along with him, and he had the right kind of mentorship and leadership early on when he started with basketball that allowed him to do this. And then give him all the credit in the world for having the gumption and the drive to do this beyond getting the money and beyond getting all the success already. In some ways, Siakam going to the finals again next week is amazing, because some guys only get the finals once in their career. Some guys never get the finals in their whole entire career. And something about this is, well, there's something about Siakam that attracts him to the finals. I'm just saying, he's on two different teams, and now he's going to the finals for the second time with this different team. You know what? That's why I say the Indiana Pacers' success is a good success for the Toronto Raptors franchise, because Siakam is getting proven bona fide as a winner, because this is no fluke. Some people try to say the Raptors' first championship was a fluke. Bullshit. You tell me it was a fluke after you saw how these former Raptors played in the playoffs this year. Now they can't say that. They don't say, oh, the Raptors championship was a fluke, man. No, you can't say that. You think Siakam's a fluke? There's no fluke about working so hard to be successful and you being successful, because that's the common denominator right there. You know, this Pacers could spin their wheels for years and years. If they don't make that trade with the Toronto Raptors, they don't get to the finals this year, y'all. No, they don't. You could have Tyrese Halliburton run around with some other jabroni forward from the league, any other guy, but it has to be Siakam if you want to be here right now. And I think the Pacers fans understand this, and thank God the NBA understands this, to give him the MVP last night. If they had done some dog and pony show and given it to Tyrese Halliburton and looked like he was expecting it, honestly, I would have been like, that's the wrong decision. You know, Siakam's the reason. Barkley's been saying it. Barkley's the voice of truth. The NBA media machine is still going to put Tyrese Halliburton's face on the front page of ESPN after the game last night, even though they didn't put the MVP on there. It's fine. We don't need this, because in some ways, Siakam is never needed in the accolades or the attention. He just quietly goes about his work and does what he does, and he's going to find success no matter what anyway. Now, I'm going to say this. The Pacers may not beat the Thunder in this finals, but the job is done. As of last night, when Siakam held up that hardware over his head and said, I'm Eastern Conference Finals MVP, well, that's a victory for us here in Raptors land. That's a victory for the Pacers organization, obviously, and their team going to the finals. Good. Congratulations, y'all. Only the second time that franchise has gone to the NBA Finals, not since 2000 against the Lakers with Reggie Miller, Mark Jackson, Rick Smits, and all those guys on that team then. Travis Best. Yeah, this is amazing. And I love it so much for Pacers fans. You go, Rick Carlisle. You guys go. I just want to see a great finals between two great teams, because I'll root for both you guys. The two teams that I wanted to win the championship are in the finals this year. Those were the two teams from both the conferences I wanted to get there, and I got exactly my dream matchup. I'm so happy about it, man. Lots of Canadian content, and, of course, Mr. PASCAL. But, yeah, the evolution of Siakam wasn't ever for sure. The evolution of Siakam is totally off beaten path that hardly anybody's gone through. He actually is a trailblazer, honestly, in some ways. Now we can officially say for sure the greatest Cameroonian player in the NBA's history is Pascal Siakam. It's not that big dummy that puts on that Sixers jersey. No, it's not. That man's hardware list, he may have an MVP in the league, but that's a fraudulent one. And, most of the accolades and stuff like that, you go ahead and take your trophy case and put it next to Pascal's Joel Embiid. You'll see that you're dwarfed in it. Yeah, you're dwarfed in it. So, yeah, salute to Pascal Siakam and the evolution of Pascal Siakam. Wow, I almost done an hour already just talking. I just wanted to go over that. If there's any more questions about it, I just want to say it's about the hard work, the drive, the never resting on his laurels, the loyalty to Toronto. That is all DeRozan code. And DeRozan code was downloaded into Siakam while he was around DeMar DeRozan as a rookie. And he, in some ways, he'll say that. It's like, man, these guys taught me so much when I first came in, Kyle and DeMar. He'll say that. And I'm telling you, man, that is all part of the big puzzle piece that gives Siakam the successful path that he's on right now. Masai, DeMar, Toronto. He understands that. And that's why he'll always love Toronto and we'll always love him. He's honorary Canadian. And his Raptor number is going up in the rafters. I don't think anybody could deny at this point that Pascal Siakam should not get his jersey retired by the Toronto Raptors when he retires. And I don't think anybody can deny, and I'll bet you this is going to happen, that he's going to be a Hall of Famer in the NBA at some point at the end of his career too. I would say that Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, and Pascal Siakam are all Hall of Famers. I'd even put Fred in there too. Our four GOATs are all Hall of Famers, and they will all find their way there at some point. So, yeah, all right. I've done my evolution of Siakam. This doesn't happen without the success and the failure. Him having failure makes it more like now after he left the Raptors, because listen, he had to leave too. Everybody's trying to do revisionist history that Siakam, I wish we still had him right now. Yeah, of course. It's like hindsight bullshit. But this is the thing. The path wasn't right for him to stay with us. He needed to expand his horizons and go to the next place. And thank God it was a team I love and respect, like the Pacers, a fan base that deserves his services and that will treat him correctly. He could have gone all over the league to other teams. He could have been a Laker. And I would never want to hear what Lakers fans would do to him, or New York, like what they're doing to OG right now. It's because Siakam doesn't deserve it. So I'm so happy he's a Pacer, and I'm not hating his success past us. In fact, his success past us makes us look good. So root him, cheer him on, Raptors fans, without a fear of anything like this. And let's stop having revisionist history. We all have life paths we go down. Life events happen. We can't go back and change the past. We need to just move forward. And honestly, I'm very happy with the current crop of the roster of the Raptors, and we should be happy and very excited about what's in the future. And stop trying to hold on to the past and regret and try and think about, well, what if this had happened? What it could have, should have. It didn't happen that way. We are where we are, and we just need to go forward. And we have a bright, bright future with the team that we have right now. So there ain't no reason to be upset because Siakam wears yellow and blue for Indiana. Seriously, there's nothing to be upset about. All right, let me get into the comments. I'm going to do 3 hours, obviously. If I'm going to take an hour just to talk myself about Siakam, obviously y'all can see. I'll talk about Siakam till I'm blue in the face. You're awesome, man. I love you, Siakam. I love you, man. Boom goes the dynamite. Look at that beauty. Yeah, this is a Lowry ring. It says Lowry on the side, number 7. Lowry ring. And this is one of the better fake rings. This is not a plastic one. This one is actually made out of metal. And I'm not sure how good the gems are, but they don't look like little plastic gems, do they? No, this is a little bit more high quality fake ring. This is not the one they handed out at the arena. No, this is not that one. No, it isn't. Trevor's saying, be careful who you share your weaknesses with. Some people can't wait for the opportunity to use them against you. Man, I'm an open book. My weaknesses get out on YouTube every morning on live stream. But it makes me stronger. I don't know. Trevor J., thank you for your words of wisdom. I appreciate you, Commissioner Fun, all the things you do, man. You're awesome. Trevor's saying that the WNBA game yesterday, Chicago Sky beat Dallas. Yeah, good to see the Kia Nurse and the Chicago Sky are getting things going now. Kia's been playing a lot better. She got a block yesterday. I put her back on my team for the game yesterday, and I was very pleased. She had a good output. So, yeah, Kia, keep striving and achieving. And go Canada. That's right. We want to see Kia Nurse do well. There's not many Canadians in the WNBA playing right now. I think there's only like 4. So we need all of them to do very, very well. Very, 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 very well. That's right. Yeah, let's see what else you guys are saying in here. Trevor's saying Angel Reese becomes the fastest player in WNBA history to reach 500 points, 500 rebounds, doing it in just 38 games. She breaks the previous record held by Tina Charles in 44 games. That's fantastic. There you go. You see, that's what I'm saying. She's doing accomplishments. She's achieving, and she may have some controversy around her, but she's a bona fide good player. Seriously, she's a good player. Trevor's saying Pascal wins Finals MVP, Eastern Conference trophy. As Raptors fans, we should all be very happy for him. That's right. And let's stop thinking about why isn't he on our team anymore? How could we have made it work? It wasn't going to work. We've talked about it recently. They had a meeting in Miami around. It was the summer before all the trades, and they met in a restaurant. And they felt them out on it. The Masai and Bobby sat down with the core guys of our team at that time: OG, Precious, Pascal, Fred, and Gary and Scotty. And they talked to them. And the vibes that Bobby and Masai got from them were that they were not into keeping the band together as much as everybody thought they were. Now, Norman was about it, but Norman got traded suddenly for Gary. And then that was kind of the first domino for all that. Sure, you could say Kyle Lowry leaving after that is part of it too. But the thing about it was that Norman wanted to keep the band together. And I agree with him at that point if he was still on the team. But once Norman went and we were starting to kind of show we're getting younger guys like Gary, maybe that was starting to be the shift there. Now, once again, I'll say this. OG, Pascal, and Fred were all from the championship goodness. And they were jaded because they saw the pain and the doldrums of the Tampa year and the pandemic and all that stuff and the failures of losing to Philadelphia in the first round and the DeAndre DeRozan playing game. That, it's just a certain point where, you had so much success early and you're just struggling and failing that you need a new change of scenery. And that Raptors fans need to really understand this. You guys can tell this story and say, oh, the front office should have just kept Siakam. But you got to understand the realistic whole thing about it, that really wasn't the right move. Because honestly, this is the thing. You think about how much money you had to go to Siakam. And if the jadedness and the weirdness of the whole thing continued and we were paying him a lot of money and we were stalling out and not getting anywhere, you got to understand how franchises work. You get a lot of your ground and progress built up from youth guys excelling and getting better like Siakam did in his younger years. And when Fred and OG and Pascal got to a certain level of preeminence in the league as far as what they're doing and steadiness, well, the value in their lower contracts and growing to get to that is really awesome. And that's what we have with our young crop now. But once they hit that and you got to pay them so much, sure, it would have been nice to keep Siakam around. I get it. But it didn't work and it didn't fit. And there's no woulda, coulda, shoulda here. We only have what happened, and you stay in the present and you go forward looking to the future. So I know I've been talking about this subject a lot, but this is a very, very heavy subject around Raptors Nation right now is why isn't Siakam wearing Raptors red still? And there's a lot of misinformation, a lot of people whining and crying about it when you don't need to. It's useless. And we should just be happy for his success beyond us and understand our team will have its success again sooner because we let go of him. I'm just going to say that. It doesn't add up 1 + 1 equals 2 in this situation where, okay, because Siakam's in the finals now, the Raptors would be the team in the finals instead of the Pacers if we just still had Siakam. No, that's not how it works, y'all. The core, the Pacers were building independent of Siakam was already doing some of the work for them on the escalator up to get here to this point in the finals this year. They went to the NBA Eastern Conference Finals last year and failed to the Celtics. Well, we're at that stair step. But those stair steps before getting there when Siakam came were building up with Halliburton and Miles Turner and the rest of those guys before Siakam got there. So in some ways, you got to think about the franchise where they are on the escalator in the playoffs of getting to the Larry O'Brien. And the Pacers were higher up on the escalator already. And that's why they're in the finals. It's not just magically, oh, take Siakam and put him on the Raptors. And all of a sudden we were supposed to be in the finals this year. No, fans that think this way, you're idiots, honestly. You can't understand this. So the Raptors have to be on their place that they're going to be on the escalator right now, but it's going to jump up, and we may even actually jump steps. You know, there's a certain amount of teams that are ahead of us in the NBA closer to the Larry O'Brien than us, but some of them may misstep this offseason in transactions, or they may have more bad injuries next year. There could be all kinds of different reasons for different teams going up and down the standings. And we could leapfrog some teams on the escalator towards the next Larry O'Brien for the Raptors because of misfortune for them and stellar progress from our young crop of players that we have. In fact, I would say we are very likely to have huge jumps because we have so many young guys on our team with the 5 rookies last year, Grady Dick, Oshai Abaji, and then even the barbecue guys are all very young, and they have huge rooms and ceilings to grow into. So don't worry, Raptors fans. You may be upset because you're seeing Siakam do this and you wish it was with us, but let it happen this way. This is the way it's supposed to happen, and our stuff will come later too. Trust me, it really will. That's right. That's right. You're going to say, Trevor agrees, he's going to be a future Hall of Famer one day. PASCAL Siakam. I agree with that. And he's going to get his jersey retired as a Raptor. That's right, Trevor. That's right. Trevor's saying the only player in Raptors franchise to accomplish more than any Raptor player. He's a badass. I would say that's true. Siakam is the most decorated, most accomplished Raptor ever in the history of the Raptors. I would say that's probably true because in some ways he has that championship trophy. You know, DeMar's very decorated also. He really is. He has a lot of player of the months. He has some all NBAs with us. He has all stars with us, but he doesn't have that final hardware. You know, Vince has a lot of accolades. Kawhi may have had the greatest year of a single year for a Raptor ever, but there was only 1 year of him. And in some ways, I look at, you know, longevity or a period instead of just a one and done like Kawhi. You can't put that as the greatest Raptor. You could say it's the greatest season a Raptor ever had. I'll take that. But you can't say he's the greatest Raptor or the most accomplished Raptor. I guess you could make an argument for that as a finals MVP. But who knows? Who knows? I think that Trevor's right. The most accomplished overall Raptor ever is Siakam. Yeah. Yeah. Stillman's here. Good to see Rob here. I was talking to Rob after the game last night. We were enjoying the post game. You know, this is something that I'm going to do every game next season on Discord. I want y'all to act like we're Zazu Spaces on the Discord. And after games, I will be in there talking live with people that are members of this channel and they want to be in the Discord server, and we'll do post games and just little chats. So if you want to be a part of that, you need to join the channel and join our Discord. Like Stillman and I were doing last night. We did a post game a little bit after the Knicks were defeated and out, and just kind of reveling in the tears of the orange and blue. And yeah, I mean, I'm glad this happened. In some ways, Knicks fans are the same place that Leafs fans were just about 10 or 2 weeks ago or something like that. So yeah, it needed to happen. It needed to happen. They're getting too big for the britches. And in some ways, it needed to happen. They need to be put down a little bit again. I think like that is actually true. Like the toxic fan culture of Maple Leafs and the Knicks, in some ways, they shoot themselves in the foot partly because the basketball gods and the people that look at things like for karma may think these people are way too cocky and arrogant, and they are acting so privileged and like they just deserve everything. Well, let's give them what they actually deserve. Is what the basketball gods that Alvin Williams talks about so much. Let's give them what they actually deserve. And that's failure and heartache, since they're so cocky and so arrogant when they do win. That's part of it. The humility of the Pacers and the excellence and humility overall of the Thunder, well, it's rewarded, and they're at the stage. They're not cocky and grandiose and braggadocio, you know, really not in overt ways that are toxic and bad. They just do their business and they go take care of it. You know, Knicks in some ways, you know, you've seen Cat be cocky as hell coming to Toronto this year and saying, this is my team, we win, bullshit. Yeah, you get the energy you put out, and y'all deserve to go out because y'all's fan base needs to be in turmoil and sad like this, just like the Leafs in some ways, because y'all bring it on yourselves by acting poorly. You know, you threw garbage on a fan. You ripped the jersey off a guy. You guys deserve this. Every single bit of misery y'all feel today, New York Nation, you deserve, because y'all were poor winners. And poor winners don't get rewarded by the basketball gods. You get this. That's what you get. You don't get this. That's for sure. No, you don't, New York. You don't get this when you act like that. That's right. That's what I'm saying right there. Boom goes the dynamite. Damn. But Rob's saying, good morning, Raptor Freaks. Very exciting game last night, and couldn't be prouder of PASCAL to be where he's at in his career. I know. We love you, Siakam. And you are an amazing, amazing player in our history, and you are cherished. You are beloved, as Kyle says. You are beloved. He's a big reason the Pacers' success in the last 2 years since he arrived. His experience and vet knowledge rubs off on the whole team. They needed him. And honestly, the fit with the Indiana is just so awesome. He's got the right coach. He's got a player like Miles Turner next to him who's really the anchor of the team as far as the history and his longevity on that team. He really has a perspective out of all the Pacers about what that franchise has been through. Then you got the young hotshot Tyrese, who's a little cocky, but also at the same time, he gets humiliated and kind of gets grounded in the way that I just talked about with the Knicks fans, where that he can kind of, he figures it out. He's a little bit got the energy of his dad, but then also he gets smacked into place and he's like, all right, I'm going to try and do this right. You got young upstarts like Mathurin and Nebhard and the other young players on that team. It's an interesting place. Like Siakam landed in the right kind of environment for the fan base, the coach, and the teammates around him. His leadership style fits that team. And I think that there's other teams in the league, if he had gotten traded to other than Indiana, where he may have been shunned as a leader. Seriously, think about his personality. What if he had gone to Milwaukee or something like that and he's playing with Giannis and Giannis is kind of first of all, that would have been weird because first of all, they kind of have a rivalry on the download, just so y'all know. But how would his leadership look alongside Giannis running around? Or if he was on another franchise, like what if he was on the Lakers? Would they take him seriously enough to allow him to be in that kind of leadership role on that team? Or would he be overshadowed, especially by LeBron? But would the Lakers fans take him seriously enough to actually allow him to be that guy? And if they didn't, would they miss out and they would shoot themselves in the foot because they have a guy like Siakam could do what he's doing for the Pacers for them, but they wouldn't allow him because they didn't see him that way because the media taught him to not look at him that way. I mean, there's a lot of different outcomes for Siakam in every step of his life where everything could have gone the other way and none of this happens. I'm telling you right now. And in some ways, Indiana was the perfect right fit for him. I'm so happy he's there. And Pacers fans, we're your brothers up here in Toronto. Siakam bonds us. And in some ways, it's weird because when the trade first happened last year with the trades, we were more bonded with New York because RJ and Emmanuel were here, and the Knicks fans were really missing them. And we were obviously missing Precious and OG also. But the thing with Indiana was kind of like, we're not really bonded. But I feel more bonded with Pacer Nation right now than Knicks Nation. That's for damn sure. And Siakam is a big reason why. And I know Pacers fans have a respect for the Raptors too. We've beaten them in the playoffs a few times. And, we've had hard times with them at times too and in different places. But yeah, Pacers fans have a respect for the Raptors organization more than other NBA organizations. Let's just put it that way. They know basketball in Indiana. That's basketball heartland country. And, well, they're intelligent basketball fans. And they respect and understand the Raptors a little bit better than the casuals around the whole rest of the league. So there's a really good friendship between Pacer and Raptor Nation right now. I really do feel it. I really, really do feel it right now. And Pacers, you guys deserve this, man. I want y'all to do well. I don't know if y'all will beat the Thunder, but give it a good series and enjoy it. If y'all do win, that's fantastic. I'll be very, very happy for you. I don't care who wins at this point. Either team could win. I say the best team win. And I'm not rooting for either one of them over the other because I would love to see either one of the teams win. I'm so happy this playoff went this way. I really, really am. Let's see. Fiercey's here. Good morning, fam. Good morning to you. And Stillman's saying Andrew Nebhard's big game last night, huge on defense and got his offensive game going at the right time to win the game in the series. Yeah, Nebhard was 6 steals, shooting 50%. And his steals were very crucial. He was like picking the pocket of Jalen Brunson and running it down and getting layups late in the game. Yeah, we're really proud of our youngster. Josh Lundberg saying on Blue Skies last night, this is what I'm accustomed to seeing from Andrew. I've been watching him play since high school. And at every level, he's had this clutch kind of stuff going on where he plays really big when it really matters. People are making allusions to Siakam in game 6s, like the one where we won this, as far as how big he elevated his game in game 6 against the Warriors in Oracle Arena to close that series. Well, another game 6 excellence for Siakam. The big moment comes and he doesn't shrink away. That's part of the evolution. In the past, there were times where I wish he would take over Siakam in the fourth quarter and just take the Raptors home, but it wouldn't happen. In some ways, it was like one game winner that Siakam got, a runner towards the basket against the Phoenix Suns once. And I was like, there you go. There's a clutch play by Siakam making it. But that was all part of the evolution to get to this point where now you're a franchise player for the Pacers. You're Eastern Conference Finals MVP. And in some ways, you're carrying them offensively in a very crucial, maybe one of the most important games in Indiana Pacer history last night. So, I mean, that's awesome. The pressure's there. And because he does the work, he does it consistently. In some ways, it's not about pressure. It's about just doing the job because that's what he does. You know what I'm saying? It's awesome, man. I love it, man. Trevor J saying all that money Nick spent to end up to do with you, Trevor. In some ways, people have been lauding Leon Rose and the job he's done recently in the last year or so with McHale and Cat and all that. I'm like, okay, this is overkill. Y'all had the right recipe at the end of the year last year with Isaiah, and y'all fucked up in the offseason when you didn't make him the priority. Instead, you had eyes for other bigger prizes around the place, and those guys aren't the right guys. Y'all might have won this series if Isaiah Hartenstein was still on your team right now, New York Knicks. I'm going to tell you that right now, but you will never know because y'all over moved your guys. And, the magic was when OG came, and that you guys were so good after the OG trade last year. Your defense and everything was right for the playoffs, and y'all fucked that up by going to get Mikal Bridges and adding Villanova player. And then the Cat thing, I'm just going to say this right now. Cat is a loser. And much like Joel Embiid, he will never win an NBA championship. That's just how it is. I'm sorry. There's just certain players in this league that get in their own way, and Cat is one of them. Cat is one of them. I think it was really cute and cool that the two Raptors in the game last night were the two leading scorers on each side, and they both shot the same percentage. Both OG and Pascal shot 10 of 18 from the field in the game last night. That's pretty cool. Isn't that weird, man? That's pretty cool. I heard there was a kick to the groin, too, last night. It's funny, man. Fiercey saying, happy Sunday. I'm so proud and elated for Pascal. He totally deserved the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. 5 votes against 4 for Halliburton. So that was the actual voting breakdown. So it was 5 for Siakam and 4 for Halliburton. Man, and I bet it was those guys on the inside of the NBA. I bet Barkley's the one who won it for him. And that's the way it should have been, honestly. Siakam got the leading score in the last game, the clinching game. Forget about Halliburton. There were some nights he did not show up, and Siakam was way more consistent for them this whole entire playoff so far. So this is just right and just. I'm sorry. The media machine will overimportance Tyrese Halliburton. He's a Team USA guy. He's American. But Pascal Siakam is the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. And as Kareem Thomas said in our Discord last night, get over it, NBA. The two MVPs of the finals, the conference finals, are both foreigners from other countries. I mean, they're both Canadian, honestly. They're both Canadian. That's right. Spicy P. That's right. I gotta remind people because the Spicy P nickname is not the one he likes. He's never really liked Spicy P as a nickname, guys. I know that everybody calls him that, but to me, he's P Skills. That's the one he wants, y'all. I know I bring it up every once in a while. He never asked for the nickname Spicy P. It may be Matt Devlin's fault a little bit. But just so y'all know, if you really want to respect Siakam, call him P Skills or just call him Pascal. Because the Spicy P nickname, he's not totally comfortable with. And in some ways, he doesn't say anything about it, but I've heard him kind of be like, about it. It's a weird thing. I want these guys to care. Like I want them to like their nicknames. I don't want them to have nicknames that they don't like. And there was very much a situation with Kyle Lowry with this. People start calling him the Bulldog of Bay Street. He hated that nickname. He hated it. So anybody who calls Kyle a Bulldog, you're insulting him. And he takes it personally. He does not want you to call him a Bulldog. And in some ways, Siakam's not outright saying, don't call me Spicy P. But I know it's not his favorite, and he does not necessarily like it. But that little chili pepper is a symbol of him. Obviously, it's shorthand for him. And whether he likes it or not, he's going to be associated with spiciness. But he doesn't like spicy food. And when they started calling him Spicy P and everybody started bringing him spicy food, he's like, man, stop bringing me spicy food. I don't eat spicy food. I hate this. I want to do a public service announcement for Raptors Nation on that subject, just so people understand. There you go. Cool Cat, I see you with the only Selly. Yeah, there you go. Cool Cat is here. Yeah, good morning, Raptor Free Crew. There's Cool Cat right there. Fiercely saying, so proud. 2 Haitians reaching the 2025 NBA Finals, Maturin and Dort. 2 Montreal Haitians, 2 hometown Haitians from the north side of Montreal. That's right, Luguettes. That's right, Benedict. Let's go. That's right. I have a special announcement for you guys. There's going to be special programming coming up for the NBA Finals this week with me doing a special partnership with To The Point channel. I talked to King last night. We're going to do special reaction shows after each Finals game. We're going to record them on his show, and his producer, Arturas, is going to flip them overnight, and they're going to come out in the morning around when I do my stream. So there's going to be extra content. Lex on To The Point doing Finals reaction shows with Brian after each Finals game of the Finals. So I have to actually watch the Finals, y'all. Because I'm going to do reaction shows with King. So be on the lookout for that content. Those clips are going to show up on his channel and my channel. So they'll be the same clip on both channels. But we're doing a partnership for the finals. To the Point, Raptors Freak. And we're gonna be doing a collaboration. I'm excited about it. When Brian pitched me on the idea yesterday, I was like, yeah, this sounds like fun. I'll do it. So expect some reaction clips after each finals game coming out on To the Point and this channel. You don't have to go look there for them. I'll post them here too. So yeah, we're gonna be doing that for the finals. I'm excited. Fiercey saying, how fitting the Sunday report moved to today in honor of Spicy P. I know it's almost like YouTube knew something. It's like, no, Lex, don't do this. Don't shoot your shot on Siakam now. Wait until next Sunday. Wait to see what we got. Yeah, hold my beer. Here it comes. It worked out well, and I'm glad. And you know what? I did it. I did a half hour of it last week, and it didn't take. And I did it a little differently this time. But yeah, it's so crazy. His dad wanted to be a priest. He didn't want to be a priest. He was kind of just rolling through life, and boom, he just screws around, tagging along, and boom, now he's like a multimillionaire and an Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Amazing life story. Seriously, Siakam. Amazing life story. So good. Cool Cat saying, congrats to PASCAL Siakam, Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Just add another accolade. Cool Cat is like the proud mother or something like that, the proud sister, proud cousin. She's family with Siakam. That's just how her fandom is for him. And I mean, she's got to be elated. Oh my gosh, what a dream year for Siakam and for number one fan in Cool Cat. What a dream year. Fiercely saying, everyone checked on Stephen A. Is he okay? I was looking for my friend DJ A to the L, Allen, on Facebook. He has not posted jack shit from last night. And man, he was gloating when they were win. He posted all these crazy pictures of Knicks gloating over the Pacers. And well, where is your post now, Allen? You're very quiet on the Western Front. I ain't seen nothing coming from you on social media right now, DJ A to the L. I'm waiting. Maybe he's still in shock and he's still kind of going through it. And maybe in like the next day or so, I'll get some sort of post from him where he's showing how he's feeling. I mean, he's in shambles right now. He's in a shambles. That's right. Tristan Trey is here. Good to see Tristan. You got to love what Pascal's doing. I mean, it's just such a great success story. I mean, seriously, here's another one, Fiercey. You know, you were get that DeMar DeRozan book for Fiercey Jr., but you need to get all kinds of information on Siakam and tell Fiercey Jr., this is how you do it right. You want to be great? Look at what Pascal did, because he came from nowhere and he made himself into a greatness. And some of it is natural athletic ability that's just inherently in his body, but a lot of it is drive to do it, the work. And like, you know, a lot of guys that get a little bit of success, they rest on their laurels. I'm telling you, this is DeRozan code. DeRozan code is in Siakam, and it's a huge part of his success is understanding the grind like Norman, but getting in there, putting in the time and putting in the effort and getting the work in with Rico Hines and other places and getting the culmination, the fruition of what your achievements are from the hard work. And like I said, that man got a big, huge bag when he went to Indiana. He's getting extensions. He's getting all his money in the world. And has he slowed down? Has it stopped him? Has it made him slow down and say, I'm done. I'm good. I don't need to do this anymore. I'm good. No, he's continuing to push harder through it in harder ways, just like DeRozan would, his mentor as a rookie. That's what I'm saying. DeRozan code, DeRozan mentality of loyalty and hard work and not resting on the laurels is in Siakam. He's a successful pupil, and he has gone forward from it for the better. And what begot him from Lowry and DeRozan has begotten from him and Van Vliet to Scotty. And that's why I like this legacy in some ways of having some years overlapping with all these people I just named, is that, you know, Siakam needed in some ways DeRozan near him in his early years. He needed Leonard around him for a year to like really bring it home. This is what hard work looks like, Siakam. And if you want to be on the highest level of this league, you got to be like that. And he took the lesson and learned it very well. Very, very well. That's right. MVPP. All right, G. That's juvenile to me, but I'm going to give you a dunk for that. MVPP. That's so stupid. I love it, though. 39 for a G, the original Raptor Freak trivia champion. You know, the trivia championship is going to be handed to somebody soon. It's going to be Reggie, Smooth Brown Man. because in the next couple of weeks, we're going to get the Larry O'Brien champion, and that's when our season ends. And we will announce the 4th ever Raptor Freak Trivia champion, the 2025 champion, and it will probably be Smooth Brown Man. So like he's got an outside chance, but the clock is running out. He's got to do really, really well on the Raptor Freak Trivias on Tuesday and get these classic cards if he's going to try and catch up to Reggie, but I don't think it's likely. Reggie's got a huge lead. But yeah, that trophy in the corner is going to have a new name on the plaque when we figure out who's going to win it. And that's going to be awesome, man. I love it, man. I love it, man. Let's go. Smooth is saying, and speaking of Smooth, PASCAL gets a second ring, possible Hall of Famer. I don't think it's a possible one. I think he's done enough to be a Hall of Famer. If there's no bias towards him from his path for being a foreigner and playing for a Canadian team, he's a Hall of Famer in my book. I think that there's guys in the Hall of Fame that have done less than him. He deserves it. He deserves it. I mean, seriously, let's think about this. In some ways, like he could end up like DeMar with longevity and a steady, consistent scoring over his career, that he could end up accumulating like 25,000 points. And I think when you get to 25,000 career NBA points, you're a Hall of Famer. That's just you go in. I'm sorry. I think there's very few people that have gotten to 25,000 points in the NBA and are not in the Hall of Fame. So I'm just saying, I think it's a very high likelihood. You know, they do this on a Basketball Reference. Let me go look. They actually put Hall of Fame chances on their reference page. So let's go look at Siakam real quick, and let's see what the chances of him becoming a Hall of Famer are according to Basketball Reference. It's such a goofy thing. They have this on every player, and some of them are like 0% chance Hall of Fame. 0% chance Hall of Fame. Let me see where it is. It should be on here somewhere. Where is it on here? I know that it's on here. Hang on. Give me just a second. Oh, Hall of Fame probability. They're saying he only has a 2.1% chance. That's kind of bullshit, man. I'll bet you that chance went up yesterday and they haven't adjusted it yet. He's an Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Come on now. Come on now. Cool Cat saying Siakam 1.5 years on the Pacers, and the impact is incredible. History making Pacers franchise as well. That's what I'm saying. These people have been through the era of Reggie, and Reggie, you know, in some ways is not as successful as PASCAL in this condensed period of a year and a half. Seriously, in some ways, Reggie Miller, sure, he got the finals once and he failed, and he was so many different years of battling and stuff like that. The Pacers fans have been starved for good success, and Siakam has been the key to it, and they understand this. I think that the award winners understood it too when Siakam got that award last night. So yeah, he's had a huge impact and in a short period of time. And yeah, I love it, man. I love it. The Pacers nation deserves all this, man. They really do. They really, really do. Smooth saying it's just such an incredible run. Wow. From out of nowhere, man. From out of nowhere. The evolution of Siakam's a real thing. And I'm proud of him because, you know, you guys know from the early days of this channel, I was very hard on Siakam at times because I wanted him to be who he is now. And I wasn't sure if he'd get here. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to check in on him and say the evolution of PASCAL has come to a place where I'm very happy, because I wish he had been this player for us like 3 years ago, but he wasn't ready yet. And in some ways he needed to go through the evolution on his time and schedule. And now he's getting to the place where I kind of saw him getting there a couple of years ago. I just wanted to rush it and get it sooner because I knew the Raptors needed his success on that kind of level faster due to our team and what was going on with it. But I'm so happy. And Cool Cat knows, as one of the originals on this channel, and us butting heads at times about Siakam, I could be very critical of Siakam at times about what he should have done in certain games as far as taking over and trying to help us get the win as a clutch franchise player. He just hadn't grown into the franchise player exactly right yet in those last few years on the Raptors. He's showing signs of it the last year or so. And really getting there, but he broke through at this point. And the crazy thing is, it's not even his stats. His stats are better on the Raptors than Indiana, guys. His stats he's had his career years in Toronto with his stats. It's more about the action at the end of the game and the go-to to him, and him showing up and rising the occasion and taking over and helping them at the end to make sure they get that. And sometimes in Raptors games in the years before, he would disappear at the end of the game. And that's where I would get critical. So I feel like as part of the evolution, it's me also looking at it from the evolution of this channel from the beginning and what we talked about. And I love where we're at with this. And I know Cool Cat specifically is reveling and just enjoying this and feeling so satisfied for this. I know she has. I know she is. That's right. That's right. Raptors players posting Siakam winning the MVP was so cool. Let's go look at that, actually. We got the Instagram stories right now. We'll start with Leo Routens. He's saying, if you're looking for reasons to be grumpy, you'll find plenty of them. Look instead for reason to be grateful and see them everywhere. I'm grateful for PASCAL Siakam. I'm grateful for DeMar DeRozan. I'm grateful for Masai Ujiri, and I'm grateful for the Toronto Raptors franchise. I'm grateful for Scotty Barnes. Yeah, I like that, Leo. That's the right action. I appreciate your words of wisdom. Vin Bagnani is putting on blast his daughter, who's turned 15 today. Happy birthday, Jay Bird. There you go. Nice cake. And yeah, she's growing up. She's growing up. Grow it up, Natty. She growing up. There's why not Lloyd? He's in a car riding around looking tough. He's actually in Charlotte right now. He went back to his old stomping grounds in North Carolina because Lloyd lives in New York, goes to school in New York City. But he was in Charlotte when we first started hanging out with him on Twitch when we did Scotty Barnes Twitch Family 2022. But yeah, he's back in Charlotte hanging around for some reason right now. There's Lloyd. If you guys want to see him, he's on his Instagram. Slim Duck, first one posting Siakam getting that Eastern Conference Finals MVP. Of course, Siakam and Chris are close, spent a lot of time together as teammates. And any of the years of it is so proud of him, just like all of us are, for sure. He's a good friend and a good former teammate. He's also putting on blast his North Montreal friends. They're all in a group. Lugetz and Benedict. They're going to be in the guaranteed new champ in the city, is what Chris has recognized. That North Montreal is going to have that Larry O'Brien coming back to it no matter what, because on both sides of the ball, there's a Dort and there's a Mathurin. So, yeah, there you go. Chris is excited that Larry O'Brien's coming back to Montreal no matter what. It's guaranteed. Let's go. Let's go. There's Chris putting in work at the ballroom at Summer League from last year. Trevor J., you got to infiltrate the ballroom this summer for Summer League, please, when you go there. He's also posting this crazy clip of these Indian couple who's singing on a microphone in a recording studio. And this song is crazy. And Chris is saying this song lives in my head rent-free. It's a crazy song, man. It's all over the place. Grady Dick is celebrating PASCAL Siakam. Of course, Grady only got him as a mentor and a teammate for half a year. Let's think about this. Did Grady Dick get DeRozan code embedded in him from being around Siakam for half a year? Did Grady Dick get to see Siakam and how he worked in the very early part of his career when his career was kind of going tough and he was struggling? Did he at least take notes and observe and see what the great Siakam was doing so that Grady Dick could download a little bit of DeRozan code into himself and get that byproduct of Mamba mentality from the predecessors? Probably. Hopefully DeRozan and Siakam live on through Grady Dick in the half year, but he's celebrating Siakam getting it. Shamshay is out there driving around. He's saying, who do you have in the UCL final, Paris or Inter? I believe it was a very one-sided game from what I hear. But yeah, I guess they have the champions now, Champions League. Let's see. And then he's putting on blast, of course, his countryman. He's saying in French, Il connaît d'abord trop history du ballon. And would Shamshay agree with us that the greatest Cameroonian player in the NBA's history is PASCAL Siakam, the most decorated champion, Finals MVP of the Eastern Conference Finals? Yeah, it ain't no Joel Embiid. Come on now. We know it's Siakam. And Siakam has passed Joel on the playoff points list, too. Yeah, your boy Scotty is out on that court. He's saying, where's the summer runs in Florida? Okay, so he's looking for some players to play with. He's all about the roller skating right now. So he showed an old clip of him skating on one foot at a roller rink down in Florida. And he's trying to prove this to Jonathan Mobo, saying, I told y'all I'm a good skater. Don't listen to Jonathan talking about how I fall when I'm on skates. That's bullshit. I'll show you at the roller rink. I'm skating around on one foot. And in some ways, Scotty did make it show that, like, this is an old clip. This is not new. Some people may be worried. Scotty roller skating around on one foot to get hurt and stuff like that. I know it's risky stuff. I mean, when I see Scotty rollerblading down a highway in Florida, I'm kind of like, man, don't be doing this, bro. Please don't do this risky behavior. Come on now. But this is an old clip of him, so it's not recent. But yeah, in some ways, once again, I'm going to say this, Scott. Y'all stop putting your captions underneath your names on your stories. We can't read what you're saying, bro, because your name, your boy Scotty, is over it. So put it down low on the post, or at least put it a little bit under. your name tag on the post because we can't read what you're saying, Scott. We can't read what you're saying. We need effective communication here. He's got mom's red beans and rice. He's good old mom cooking because he's back home down south right now, and mom's cooking him some red beans and rice. And man, that is looking like a mom meal right there. And I'm sure that Scotty's eating some of the most expensive, luxurious meals at Cactus Club and Soto and places like that here in Toronto. But nothing beats mom's recipe of old rice, some rice and red beans. And I'll tell you, that don't look like minute rice. I'm going to tell you right now. I'll say that right now. Let's keep going. There's Scotty's post for PASCAL. He's so happy. He's got PASCAL with fire. Very, very happy to see this. He's not a hater. We know Scotty's favorite player in the NBA is PASCAL. He said it very publicly. And this is awesome. Once again, the DeRozan code goes on through Siakam to Scotty. And you think about all the time Scotty spent with Siakam in his early career and just how much Siakam rubbed off on him like DeMar rubbed off on Siakam. And that's an important part of building culture like the Heat culture, like the Spurs culture, like the Raptors culture. And DeMar DeRozan is the catalyst for this. He's the origin. And that's why we should give him a lot of the credit, is he's the origin. DeMar DeRozan begets PASCAL Siakam begets Scotty Barnes. And hopefully Scotty Barnes took the lessons at heart and it has the code downloaded in him. That Scotty Barnes has DeRozan code. That's right. Scotty, I hope you find summer runs in South Florida, but be careful out there. Maybe you need to go to your old stomping grounds, go on down to LA Fitness or Salvation Army or something like that and say, hi, I used to come here when I was a kid and play against grown men. That's right. That's part of the reason why Scotty's so good on the court. I realize these young guys who go and play against grown men when they're young, they learn grown men respect and attitude from the start. And in some ways, they go about things different. But also, when they get on the court, they kind of have assurance and confidence because they've been playing grown men already. Does that make sense? So Scotty playing grown men when he was a kid was really good. I heard this recently in an interview from Inbound. We're talking to SGA and Nickel as cousins. They were playing a lot of grown men too when they were younger. And I think that's a phenomenon that's very good for young players. Forget about playing your age group. Go down to the Y, go down to LA Fitness like Scotty Barnes and start playing some 40-year-olds, 30-year-olds, and a little older 20-year-olds, even if you're 12 years old or 13, and see how much you can do against them. They will make you tougher. They will get in your head. They will teach you tough lessons that you probably can't learn anywhere else, is what I'm saying. Don't be afraid to do that. Seriously. Coach Andrew Jones is still, summer camp is going off like crazy. These kids are going through the ringer, Ava. Get out there and make more shots, Ava. Coach Drew is on you like he would be on Kennedy Chandler. Eric Smith celebrating the Canadian content in the finals coming. You go, Fan 590's Eric Smith. I love to see this. So many. He's got a Rowan Barrett quote on here. To see 4 homegrown players competing for an NBA championship is a testament to the depth, resilience, and world-class players being developed in Canada. We couldn't be prouder of what this means for our country and for the continued growth of the game. Rowan Barrett Sr. Yeah, I love that. I love that quote from him. I love that so much. Let's see. Lindsey Dunn is eating some fancy food. Some fancy food. And she's celebrating the Canadian content coming in the finals. And Siakam, of course, MVP. Love it, love it, love it. RJ celebrating Oakland A. And it's actually Dalton Travis. I believe there's a kid from Toronto that plays for the Oakland Athletics. Not Oakland. I'm sorry. I should say Athletics. Boo. That's bullshit. But he's celebrating a Toronto kid who's playing in the MLB on his Instagram. So RJ's actually celebrating MLB Toronto kid. There you go. Savannah Hamilton is on a beach. Which beach is she? She's in Greece, I think, still. She might be in Greece. She went to the Giannis court. She was really cool to see the Giannis court in Greece. And she's on a beach, and she's saying life is good. About an hour ago, actually. Gary Trent Jr. has found a Ferrari out in the wild, or maybe that's a Lamborghini. I'm not totally sure. And it's got a really weird custom paint job. It looks like it's splattered with blood all over it, and somebody wrote the words help. Now, if it wasn't so done over the whole entire car, somebody might actually think it's a real crime scene. But because the paint job is consistently all around the car, I don't know. If somebody saw this in public, they might be horrified. But Gary thinks it's cool as hell. He says it's tough. I mean, there is that whole horror motif that some people are into. But yeah, I don't know if I'd drive this car. It looks like a serial killer would drive it. And it's kind of scary. If you go look at Gary's Instagram stories, you can see the car I'm talking about. It's very kind of creepy, man. Let's see. Jamal Shed has got somebody on blast. Who is that? That's probably just a family member. I have no idea who that is. Jamal's always putting somebody on blast. Manuel Quickly is out on a boat, and the sun is shining. It's beautiful, beautiful sky. He's still over in Hawaii, and it's cute. It's really good to see the guys. They're getting their break away from each other because, I think that they're going to get a month away from everybody and at home, and then they're going to come back, and they're all going to be together from like, I'll bet you they'll be back together in July around summer league, and they won't depart from each other for much after that. There may be like a week where they're separate again in between, but I'll bet you the Raptors are going to be traveling around again this summer as a group for the most part, doing different things in different locales like they did last year in Spain and Miami and Vegas. So we could see the same thing. Jacoby Walter with the short hair is hanging out with a kid named Salmon, the life of Salmon. And I guess he's just a little buddy of his or something. But Jacoby looks happy and smiley. There's your Instagram stories. Yes, a lot of celebration for Siakam, Eastern Conference Finals MVP. That's right. Yeah, let's go. Tristan Trace saying shout out to Masai. That's right. Shout out to Masai Ujiri. And in some ways, that's right. And Pascal's success is his success because in some ways, Masai had to be at Basketball Without Borders for this to happen. I'm not going to lie. Seriously, I don't know if anybody's going to track him and follow him or get him on this path in the right way to get to this kind of success. It's really, really, really good that Ujiri was there early on around Siakam. Seriously important, man. Seriously important. Stargate is here. Good to see Stargate. Congratulations to Siakam. He deserves it. But some of these Raptor fans need to shut the fuck up. All these people who are now saying, oh, Masai made a mistake. We shouldn't have traded him, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's casual. It's misinformed. And it's too much woulda, coulda, shoulda. Y'all ain't Marty McFly. Get your time machine. It's not happening. You don't have a DeLorean. So we can't go back and change this. And understand what I said earlier is exactly the right attitude. That, times change. And, you can't just stay static with things. If you do, some ways you may screw yourself up for better success in the future. So that's what this is. And in some ways, we made it a hard goodbye, but it was one that was well thought out. It wasn't a spur of the moment decision. It was something that was done. And some would say late because he actually really did try and give them a chance to get it together that last year with Dennis Schroeder. And it just didn't work. So come on, Raptors casuals. Stop. Just stop. Own the present and stop looking back in the past with regret. Because seriously, and don't say Masai messed up. Because seriously, I'll start the argument against you with saying, well, Siakam doesn't even get here without Masai. So don't tell me that Masai messed up. Don't tell me he did, because he was very successful and smart in getting this man to the NBA in the first place. So don't even give me that crap. That's right. That's right. Siakam's journey is amazing. The evolution of Siakam is something that every Raptor fan should be proud of. And in some ways is a symbol of what you should do in your own life to evolve and become better in your own life too. That's what I'm saying right there. That's right. Masai is a GOAT. Stargate saying, are the same people used to say Pascal isn't clutch? Pascal isn't number one. Masai needs to trade him for picks, blah, blah, blah. It's the same people. Talk about the hypocrisy. Well, that's the action. The action is that they're not fans. They're negative little shits. And they're going to take whatever situation and spin it in the wrong way, in the pessimistic way or the detracting way towards our team. And that each step, they're going to pick the right option of what their intention is. And they'll get on that side of the argument. So that's really what this is. These are little shits. And that's why I don't call them fans. They're people in the Raptors nation, but you're not actually a fan. If you do not have the utmost gratefulness and respect for Masai Ujiri, you're not a Raptors fan. I'm sorry. You're just not. You're just not. If you disdain him and you think he's horrible and all this stuff, you're not a Raptors fan. You are not. You are just somebody in the Raptors nation who follows the team, but I will not call you a fan. You're not a fan. That's right. And this is solely true. These people flip. They'll be like the main people that were doing all the bullshit trade machines for Pascal for years and years and years. And then they finally traded them. And the whole thing worked out really well for the Raptors and Siakam and the Pacers. And half the shit that they proposed would have been disasters, failures, and absolutely not in the best interest for the Raptors. And you idiots have the audacity to say that Masai Ujiri dropped the ball or failed on Siakam. Bullshit. He got the maximum value out of Siakam before he hit big time money, and we got the best years of his career for value. So don't even tell me Masai Ujiri dropped the ball with Siakam. He got the best years of Siakam's early years on the cheap contracts. And when he got paid, he traded him to a place he wanted to be. and he's very happy at. And we got good assets for him in return. Some of you said, we got Ochai Agbaji, Brandon Ingram, and a couple other things for Siakam. And that Siakam trade is looking not that bad at this point now that we fleshed out things. And remember, there's still some draft picks coming from that trade for Siakam. We're still getting a draft pick, 1 first-round pick from this deal. So it's like the fallout for what we got for Siakam is still happening. It's just they got it right away on the other side for Indiana. And we're getting some of our stuff still on layaway. So we'll get it. We're going to get it eventually. HC's here. Good to see HC. Longtime Raptor fan, Raptor freak. And good to see him back in the chat. Had to come listen this morning. So happy for Pascal. Can you review the draft class of 2016? Just looked at, and it's amazing where Siakam stands. You know what? We'll do this. This is a great request by HC. Good to see you return, man. You guys know you can always come home. I'm never judging anybody for a long absence or anything like that. I just love seeing the names come back and say hi. And I appreciate you being back, HC. Let me go look at that real quick. We'll look at the 2016 draft. Bear with me here. I'm typing. NBA draft. Yeah, let's go look at this real quick. All right, first of all, I want to say this, and we're going to talk about this later, but happy birthday to Brian Colangelo, a former GM of the Toronto Raptors. And thank you, Brian, for drafting the first pick in this draft, Ben Simmons. That's right. In the draft that Siakam got picked, Ben Simmons was the number 1 pick in the draft by Philadelphia out of LSU. And, well, let's see where he's at this point. Come on, seriously. This is what we're talking about here. Brandon Simmons. And thank you, Brian Colangelo, former GM of the Raptors, for picking him and picking Markelle Fultz and doing what you did for the Sixers in your draft picks. Awesome. Good stuff. Look who's number 2 in that draft class, Brandon Ingram, the 2nd pick in the draft. Now, let's think about this in our minds for a second, Raptors fans. Let's think about this for a second. HC, thank you for bringing this. In fact, I'm going to give you a dunk for bringing this little mind exercise because this is hilarious, man. HC, you got your first dunk points of the year, 3 for you. All right. Thanks thinking about this. We drafted Siakam at pick number 27 in 2016. We just flipped him for the 2nd pick in his draft, along with multiple players and picks other than him. Now, people are going to tell me Masai is washed when he took a man who was drafted in the same year at 27 and flipped him and got the 2nd pick in that draft, Brandon Ingram. How's that washed? How's that messing up? I mean, I would say this. He built value into a guy from the 27th pick to the point where he could flip him for the 2nd pick in the same year draft. I mean, that's just facts. HC just pointed this out. I'm like, whoa, wait a second. Hello. Brandon Ingram's the 2nd pick in the draft of the year of Siakam. And we just traded Siakam in a roundabout way for Brandon Ingram plus stuff. So basically, Ujiri got the value of the 27th pick in that draft for the 2nd pick, the lottery pick, the 2nd pick in the draft. People want to tell me Masai's washed. Come on now. People are going to try and say that Masai's washed. Jaylen Brown at number 3. That makes sense. Dragon Bender. What the hell? Chris Dunn. What the hell? Buddy Hield. Okay, at 6. Jamal Murray, number 7 for Denver. Marquise Chris. Who the hell is that? Yakapel at number 9 out of Utah. That was a good pick right there. Thon Maker for Milwaukee, the next pick. Where is Thon, right? He was supposed to be the unicorn, right? Domantas Sabonis, Orlando at 11. Taurean Prince. Papagiannis? No. Denzel Valentine? No. Juancho? Even Yabusele was drafted before Pascal Siakam. Gabrishon Yabusele. It's crazy. Henry Ellison, Wade Baldwin. This name is a list on here is ridiculous. DeAndre Bembry. Siakam played in Tampa with DeAndre Bembry, and DeAndre Bembry was a higher draft pick in his same class. He got picked at 19. Siakam was at 27. Malachi Richardson, we just went over his stunted growth. Former Raptor Malachi Richardson at number 22. Man, this is crazy, man. I'm looking at this list and I'm like, holy crap. HC's exactly right, man. Exactly right. What an amazing job by Ujiri. And at that time when they named Siakam at the podium, it said the Toronto Raptors select at the 27th pick, New Mexico State, Pascal Siakam of New Mexico State. And people were like, who? What? And they laughed? Who's laughing now, motherfuckers? That's what I say. Who's laughing now? That's right. Shirkan saying, good morning, Raptor Freak family. Just wanted to say this. Probably the most Canadian finals outside of 2019 matchup. No matter who wins, there's going to be a Canadian champion. As for the draft, pretty wide open after top 3. There you go. Good to see Raptor Freak Rookie of the Year, past Rookie of the Year, Shirkan in the house, the voice of Raptors Tonight, who, man, we got to get you back in your habitat. Randy Urban, come on back and do it next year when we win. Come back with Raptors Tonight, please, next year, Randy. Shirkan has questions for you. Please, please. But yeah, this is fantastic. I love the Canadian content. Justin Beaver, are you happy about Canadian content, Justin? Justin, can we talk about Canadian content real quick? Where's Justin? I got to wake him up. Wake up. Get up, get up, get up. It's been colder weather, so he's kind of gone back into hibernation mode. Whoa, wake up, bro. It's all right. It's all right. Wipe the sleep from your eyes or something like that. All right, all right. Justin, do you like that there's going to be a Canadian NBA champion this year? 2 of them at least, maybe even 3 if you count Siakam. Yeah, you like that? Yeah. Is this good Canadian content? Is this good? Like, you're a CRTC. We got to make sure there's Canadian content in this channel, on the Raptor Freak channel. Yeah, and make sure there's some Canadian content in the NBA Finals this year. Oh, yeah, SGA is the MVP. Do you like that? Yeah. You like SGA? You like the SGA? All right, good. You're my son. All right, you can go back to sleep now. I'm sorry I woke you up. You can go back to your damn, son. Go back to your damn, son. All right, there. Here's a hug. Oh, I love my little beaver son. There you go. Go back. Go on back. I'm sorry I woke you up. There you go. You guys are getting the glasses and the beaver today. I guess it's a good day. That's right. Let's go. Nako's here. Good to see Gerald. PASCAL, as of right now, goes number 1 in a redraft. Needs to see what comes out of BI, but he probably goes 3rd and Jaylen Brown 2nd. That's a good question. That's a tough, Gerald's doing this. He wants to redraft 2016. I think that Siakam's in the top 5 for sure. I don't know if I would say that, Jaylen Brown maybe needs to be number 1 just because of the hype. And in some ways I buy it, but I mean, it's close. It's close. Jaylen Brown, PASCAL Siakam is pretty close. They should be 1 and 2. And Brandon should actually stay around there. He should be number 3. But I think that those 3 guys are the best players from this draft. I mean, Jamal Murray's up there too. He should probably be the 4th guy. So it's like those 4 guys are the 4 best players from the draft. And then Siakam might even be the 5th best. Seriously, if we're really looking at this, it could very well be the 5 best players from that 2016 draft are PASCAL, Jaylen Brown, Jamal Murray, Brandon Ingram, and Jakob Poeltl. Seriously, Domantas should be around there too. I should not forget about Sabonis. He's another really good one that's on this list too. But yeah, it's crazy, man. And remember also, Fred's in this class too, and he wasn't even drafted. So it's basically like Freddie's Jameson battle in this year. It was like Fred wasn't even drafted he was in this class too. So it's crazy, man. It's awesome. HC saying PASCAL doesn't operate good as number 1 option. This is perfect for him. We put him too much on him with our team at that time. Plus, we didn't want to pay him. Laugh out loud. No, this is true. And this is part of the whole thing. You guys keep saying they're not running plays for him. And it's kind of like he can just float and kind of just be a garbage player or like that cleanup player and, do stuff in transition, be an opportunist, utilize his athleticism and his motor and his length to his advantage to just beat people. And it's not necessarily that he needs to have the ball to do it. And, in some ways, Tyrese is an important person to be near him because he takes a lot of the clutch stuff off his shoulders. The clutch shots can sometimes be put on Halliburton's shoulders. And in some ways, we do the same kind of action with Fred when the 2 of them were on our team. But, we won and lost on the shoulders of Fred and Siakam during those years. And quite often they, just like anything, there's going to be a level of success and failure. And that's the thing I always respected about PASCAL and Fred during those years is that they owned their success and failure as it came. And Freddie was always like, listen, man, I'm going to take the shot every time. I don't care. Y'all can be mad at me or whatever and say I shoot too much, but I'm going to take that shot every time. And if I make it, I'm very happy. But if I don't, I got to live with it. But at least I have the balls and the guts to take these shots and not shy away from them. So in some ways, you trade out Van Vliet for Halliburton. And it's right. HC's right. In some ways, some of the pressure that's on Siakam in certain ways as a franchise player and clutch player in certain ways is off because Halliburton will cover that area a bit with his bag and his player build. So, yeah, this is a good point by HC. You're on fire, man. You're on fire today. I'm going to give you another dunk for showing up. Again, 6 on the charts, 2 dunks, 3 points each. There you go. Nako saying PASCAL number 1, Jaylen number 2, BI number 3, Domantas number 4, Jamal Murray number 5, Jakob number 6, Zubac number 7, DeJounte Murray number 8, and Brogdon and LeVert. That's who you think. That's your top 10 from that draft. Good stuff, Gerald. I like that, man. I like that you're putting that out there. I'm gonna give you a dunk too, just for putting that out there. I like that you put Siakam number one, and that's awesome. I don't know if that's totally true, but he's either number one or two in that one, and we drafted at 27. So you do the math, people. You do the math. The Messiah's washed my ass. Come on now. He drafted Jakob, the big center, when he had to because of the project at number 9. I hope he can do that again this year. And then he went and got Siakam, a value pick at 27, and then he went and got a future possible Hall of Famer off the draft boards named Fred VanVleet. Yeah, that was a banner year, 2016. It's going to look real good, just like 2024 and the years to come for Masai Ujiri draft class. Oh, yeah, 2024 is going to look real good in about 5 years from now. Trust me. It's going to look real good with Jamal Shed and Ulrich Shamshay and Jacoby Walter. That's right. Let's go. G saying when Kawhi left, he wasn't replaced with another top talent, so it all fell on Siakam. This is a great point. He was expected to beat Tatum and Brown, then Gasol and Serge left. He took the bulk of the criticism. Yeah, that was a really tough part of it. And mentally, he had to become stronger. In some ways, this is part of the DeRozan code. Is like when the times get tough mentally and you're going through things. Maybe you're going through heartache, like you can't go back to your father's funeral. Maybe you're going through heartache because the Raptors fans are turning on you because you failed. You know, in some ways, that part of the dichotomy of success and failure was important for Siakam to feel. And in some ways, just like DeMar, dealing with your emotions and your feelings and your frustrations and focusing into positive energy to work harder is something that Siakam has done. That's a very important part of things right there. And he did. He got a lot lumped on him really fast. He wasn't totally ready yet at that age and what he was doing in his evolution. He was not totally ready yet. He is now, though. He is now. UC saying, I couldn't be more happy for Pascal. Also, I miss him being with my Raptors. That's right, UC. We miss him, but you know what? It's awesome to see him still excelling beyond us. In some ways, it's like sometimes you're a parent and you got to let your kid go off to college and you're going to be like, oh, he's going out into the world now. Oh, I hope he's going to be all right. You know, and we're just happy to see him have success and do really well, man. I love that. HC saying, Pascal getting all the Canadian love. Happy he doesn't forget about us and thankful and making other people who talk bad about Toronto look like idiots. Oh, yeah. That's another reason why I love the man, because he really does bring that respect and forces it for us. That's part of the DeRozan code. DeRozan's like, look, I got y'all, Toronto. I'm going to make y'all respectable no matter what. And when he said that, we were not respectable. Chris Bosh had left us high and dry and went to South Beach. And DeRozan wasn't even averaging double digits in the league yet. And he said, I got us. And he came through with that. He meant it, and he meant it. And look, they've done interviews with Siakam, and he's brought up Toronto in the interviews recently, even though he plays on Indiana. He does not have to talk about the Raptors franchise at this point. But he understands how important it is and how special a place it is in his heart, that he proudly talks about his history on the Toronto Raptors. And that helps us. That puts us in the forefront, and that does give us shine and more respect. So that's part of the DeRozan code. In some ways, it's demanding respect. And DeMar demanded respect for the Toronto Raptors franchise, the city of Toronto, and the country of Canada. And he delivered. In fact, like I said, man, the most important people that brought respect to our team are DeRozan, Dwayne Casey, Masai Ujiri, and Kyle Lowry during those years in the 2010s. They built We the North. They built the year in and year out Atlantic Division champions and being at the top of the Eastern Conference standings. And in some ways, Siakam carries that torch beyond them for put respect on the name of the Raptors. Put respect on the name of the Raptors. That's right, HC. Wayne saying, morning, Raptor Freaks. Very hard-working game last night. Pacers had to dig deep to get a win from a Knicks team who weren't playing at their best by being harassed all night by dogged defense. Yeah. I mean, it's now or never. You know, when the dog is hurt in the corner and it's like knows it's in trouble, it will fight out and lash out even worse. And then, you know, the Knicks were in a trouble elimination game, and, well, it's all on the line then. That's what you got to do. Is there's no tomorrow. And, well, that's when the teams are so dangerous. And that's why you can't play with your food, Rick Carlisle, and you guys got the job done. You know that if you had lost last night and you were going to a Game 7 at MSG tomorrow, that would not be ideal at all. So they took care of business. And I commend Coach Carlisle and the Pacers for not messing around and taking care of things and being cutthroat, because they had to. They had to take care of them right now. That old Yeller is rabid and frothing out the mouth. So you got to take old Yeller out back. I'm sorry. And yeah. And that's what they did with that orange and blue dog yesterday. That's what they did. They took it out back like old Yeller. That's right. The kid was crying too. Nako saying it took Pascal playing at under his standard for the Celtics to barely scrape by. Tatum said in an interview after they lost in Golden State, Raptors bubble is the toughest series he ever faced. Yeah, that's crazy. And that's a woulda, coulda, shoulda. In some ways, that's the kind of woulda, coulda, shoulda people can do. And it's fair. If Siakam had been more prepared physically for the bubble, would that have been the difference in a 7-game series that the Raptors were going forward and then maybe even getting their second championship? That may be something that keeps Siakam up at night, honestly. In fact, that's the stuff that drives people to stay better and not fuck up ever again. Because he realizes he fucked up. And it could be he's gone even more crazy and doubled down on his workouts with Rico Hines and other places because of the pain and the suffering and the woulda, coulda, shoulda. If I had just done what I was supposed to do during the pandemic, would I have been that little bit extra that would have lifted us through the Celtics further into the playoffs in the bubble and possibly be playing the Lakers instead of the Miami Heat and getting a repeat championship for the Raptors in that summer? We will never, ever know. But it was that close. And this is a very good point by Gerald that Jaylen Brown said publicly that the playoff series, the 7 games against the Raptors in the bubble, is the toughest series he's ever been in his life. It may still be true because last year they didn't have no resistance in their championship run last year. So I would say it's probably true. If you ask Jaylen Brown today, what is the toughest playoff series you ever played in? It was Toronto in the bubble in 2020. Yeah, that was the toughest series that we ever played in. That's right. Nako's saying the Tampa season was an unusual Pascal season. Yeah, he spoke more openly about it in interviews this season, saying he hated it, that he didn't like coming to the arena every time, and like the fans were weird, and like he didn't feel at home there, and they were like making noise during their free throws. It was not a home advantage in any kind of way, and in some ways that is something I would say I would make an argument. But not that we're asking for handouts, that the Raptors should have been compensated by the NBA in some sort of way for having to play 82-game season on the road. That there should have been some sort of compensation, like maybe y'all gave us a draft pick, or maybe you give us an extra amount of money or something, some sort of compensation for us having to deal with that in a particular situation because it was not fair. And, you know, Raptors Nation, we do not whine about this. In some ways, this could have been a narrative that the Raptors fan nation could have gone on and on about. It's not fair to us. We had to play on the road a whole entire season. Nobody said a shit about this. I may have said it here a couple times, but most of the time, no, Raptors fans whining and complaining that we had to play a 82-game road season once. Seriously, nobody's complaining about that up here. We did it. We shut up about it and we went through it. And in some ways, I'm proud for that. I'm proud of us for that. But I want to point that out and just tell people, I mean, what if this had happened to another team like the Celtics? Would the NBA have compensated them in some sort of weird way? You say, the Celtics are having to play all their games on the road. So I, Adam Silver, have declared that the Celtics will get another extra second-round pick in compensation for their hardship of being on the road all season. You know, would he have done that for a different franchise is more important, but not the Raptors because they're an afterthought? I don't know. In some ways, I felt like that was totally unfair, that we had to play a whole entire season on the road. Seriously. Kaloy saying that Indiana fans surprised about how Toronto still loves Siakam. Why would they be surprised? The man's an amazing person. He's a beautiful person with his PS43 foundation and just his outlook on life and his joie de vie. This man is just, he's living his best life. He's smiling all the time. He's an auteur with his photography. He's just a very, very well-rounded individual, and he's a great individual, and he's a good role model. How about that? In some ways, he may not be a stereotypical face of the league, but you know what? Honestly, Adam Silver, if you want to have a good role model for children to look up to and follow, it's not John Morant. It's not Anthony Edwards. It's somebody like Pascal Siakam. Honestly, it's somebody like him right there. Exactly. That's right. Let's go. Wayne saying Lex is stretching this DeMar thing. Pascal's work ethic is all internal. His game is the same now, and his defenses are still the same, which means being a pacer hasn't improved his game. Finished player. No, I'll disagree with this. There's different levels to this, Wayne. All due respect. Every time you play every year, you get better every year. DeMar would tell you that. Like, there's little things that he's doing that aren't totally to our eyes, but professionals will see it on the down low. Coaches up close will see it. Teammates will see it. Every single year, certain players in this league go in the offseason and add to their bag and work harder than the other guys in the rest of the league. And that's what separates SGA and PASCAL from the rest of the league, is that every single summer they have something that they want to get better at and they work on it. And it's usually tailor-made for what the team's needs are or what the coach asks them to do. And Scotty's doing the same thing. You know, your argument of what you're saying could be applied to what people are seeing with Scotty, that he is just who he is right now. That's bullshit. We know Scotty is internally getting better and he's adding more things to his facets to his game, even if most casual fans cannot see it and understand it. And they're saying, oh, Scotty's just spinning his wheels. He hasn't gotten any better since his rookie year. That is bullshit. And that is bullshit also, what you're saying right there. All due respect, Wayne. All due respect. I would say this. Look, you saying that you don't think that DeMar DeRozan had an impact on PASCAL SIAKAM when he came to the Raptors? That's bullshit too, because he said it in public. He said it in interviews that I came in and my veterans were DeMar and Kyle, and they set the tone and they taught me things right away. Yeah, sure. Siakam, when he was at New Mexico, he wasn't working as hard as he was when he got to the Raptors. This is just the damn truth. Because in some ways, sure, he could run up and down and play basketball. It was new to him. He was still learning it. But he wasn't doing the grind like he was until he met Rico Hines, and then he came to the Raptors. That's when he started getting going. And the momentum picked up once he met and saw guys like Lowry and DeRozan, what they're doing behind the scenes. So I will say this is not true. It's very important for players to have mentors, is what I'm saying. Oh, wait, hang on a sec, guys. I got a call. I don't know if he knows I'm on the air. Who is this right now? You're on the air.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, whatever time it is for you right now. Just know that you are on Raptors Freak with the lyrical Leviathan Lex.
Oh my gosh, he did my nickname. He keeps calling me the lyrical Leviathan. I think it's gonna stick if Brian keeps calling me that. I don't know, man. Good to see you, King. How are you doing this morning? To the Point King is on the channel right now.
I'm good. I just wanted to pop on the show just to I don't know. Do you want to spill? Can I spill the tea?
Well, I already did. You weren't here earlier. I told them that we got a special segment coming up for the finals. I was telling them that we're going to do a collaboration between our two YouTube channels and that this content's going to be available on both channels. Yeah, I told them earlier. I'm sorry if I spilled the tea already.
And y'all better support it on both ends. Y'all better support it for him and for us. On To the Point. Yo, we're out here for you guys. We're doing this just for you guys.
Right on. Well, Brian, listen, I'm doing a spiel right now, but I appreciate you calling in, man. And you guys always support To the Point.
I know, but I wanted to touch.
Go ahead. What you got?
I just wanted to touch on PASCAL.
Sure.
SIAKAM. I'm sorry. I got a friend in the hospital I got to go see right now. I got somebody else I got to go. I got other people I got to take care of.
It's all good, man. I'm sorry to hear that. But yeah, go ahead, man. Shoot your shot.
Never forget Freak Nation. But hey, there's a lot of fans out there giving the Raptors shit about, why did you get rid of PASCAL? You shouldn't have got rid of PASCAL. You should have
Yeah.
We'd be inhibiting him by keeping him here during the rebuilding process. You know what? I'm happy, and everybody should be happy to see him in the finals again.
Yes. I think this was a big argument that Cool Cat had with me for a couple of years, was that she didn't want to lose his prime years in a rebuild with us. And that this is best for him as well as us in some ways, even though some of the fans don't think it's been best for us. It is in some ways, because in some ways you hold on to the past too long, you mess up the future. And we had to let go of the past to allow the new future with our new young players that we got right now. So
bingo.
Yep. That's it right there.
You nailed it right. You nailed it right there, buddy. You nailed it right there. It's true. Like, if anything, we should be proud that he's there because he came up through this system.
Yeah, he makes us look good, and we appreciate him for it, for sure. Brian, any last point real quick? Because I want to keep moving. I am over 2 hours, and I got a lot of segments still to do on the channel for today. But, man, I'm glad I get an impromptu call from you all of a sudden and get you on the air.
All I got to say is, ladies and gentlemen, you are there with the lyrical Leviathan Lex. All the way. Right there. The Raptors Freak. You guys know what to do.
Hit that like button and subscribe.
Click comment. Follow him on all social media platforms, including the Facebook page. Okay? And me saying that, hey, good afternoon, good evening, good night, and peace.
Peace. Peace. Oh man, that's awesome, man. We got a hype call from Brian from To The Point, man. Seriously, we're gonna do this thing for the finals, and I hope y'all will watch them. We're gonna do finals reactions, tape them, and they'll be out the mornings after the finals. So it's a collab between To The Point and Raptors Freak Channel, and I know y'all will enjoy it. A lot of y'all are fans of both channels, and thank you, Brian, for calling in today, injecting some of your energy into the stream today. I love that, man. All right, getting back to Wayne. All due respect, DeMar is an important vet for him from his early career. And I know I'm on a DeMar the code kind of trip, but in some ways I'm discovering who has DeMar code, who has the DeRozan code in it, and who are those kind of players that exhibit some of the habits and characteristics that DeMar DeRozan of Compton have. And Siakam's a disciple of the DeRozan code. He really is. I would say Fred probably is too, because Fred was around it. Norman was around it too. Then these guys are betting on themselves and understanding their grinds, but there's a lot of work put into being Norman Powell and being Fred VanVleet. And once again, I will say it: the leadership veterans of having you come in, remember your vets. It's like DeMar said on that podcast: Jarrett Jack, Chris Bosh, Patrick, people like that were my vets when I first came in, and they taught me the ropes on how to work. Well, your first leaders on your team as a rookie are important. And DeMar and Kyle were those guys for that 2016 class we're talking about with Jakob and all those guys. OG, very much influenced by DeMar also, guys. So it's like, don't underestimate my vet. Oh, that's my vet, DeMar. That's my vet. It's the same thing. Like in some ways, Scotty's saying the same thing about Fred and PASCAL at this point. That was my vet. When I came in, Siakam was my vet when I first came in. So the legacy continues because Siakam passed things down to Scott. And maybe Scotty works even harder in certain ways in his offseason, partly because of things he gleaned and saw around PASCAL and Fred and people like that. OG, I'm saying it begets it. It's important. And that's how Heat culture was built. That's how Spurs culture is built. Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, talking to Danny Green, Kawhi Leonard, and the people that are coming up underneath them. That's the way it works right there. I'm just saying that's the way it works, man. Now, his deficiencies are still the same, which means being a Pacer has improved his game, finished player. I don't agree with this either. Siakam has elevated his game since he's been on the Pacers, not stat-wise, but in leadership and knowledge and confidence and kind of carrying-wise. He's doing more to carry the Pacers now than he was doing for our Raptors a couple years ago. He's more dependable. He's more clutch. He's showing up in the big moments more in ways more often than he did for us. And part of it is the situation of the rebuild where Indiana's at and Halliburton's presence. But it's also the fact that maybe the pressure isn't as hard on him for it as it was when he was on Toronto and he was trying to fill the void that Kawhi left. So there's a lot working here. I say there's a lot of progress with NBA players on the download that we don't totally see in the stats. That it may be a knowledge thing. It may be a leadership thing. It could be a defensive thing that they elevated their game. And Scotty, those things were things that he worked on this year. But a lot of people say he didn't get anywhere this year. But that's bullshit. We know he did. We know he did. And I'll say the same thing about Siakam in this. Cool Cat saying, Lex, the lockdown wouldn't allow the players to play basketball. Masai, the Raptors organization, begged the government and they refused. Even Boucher got in trouble going to the grocery store. Yeah, but they should have done, like I said, we've had this conversation before. We had this conversation about 2 or 3 years ago. The Raptors should have been proactive and snuck them shit to their house. They should have done stuff like that. It's true. Maybe Canada's stricter conditions during the pandemic were hurting us in this situation. That's probably very true. But also at the same time, Siakam is a man on his own. And as much as I saw Serge Ibaka lifting weights the whole entire time during the pandemic, he could have taken it upon himself. And they could have talked to him from afar, even if he was stuck at his house. You can make excuses for him, but he failed during the pandemic. We know he did. He knows he did. And that's part of what drove him to never have that feeling again. So let's be real about it, Cool Cat. Siakam has his own individual responsibility. He may not have seen the world in the way that he understood the schedule of things happening, and maybe it caught him off guard that the NBA did come back so soon. But maybe he thought he had more time to just not be in his best shape, just kind of hanging out at home. But that's not a good excuse. I saw Terrence Davis. I saw Serge Ibaka. I saw OG Anunoby. I saw different people doing their work on their own, even in cramped spaces at where they were. And I'll say that. You can defend him. We're talking him up like crazy today. But this is one spot where he needs to take a little bit of responsibility for this. And we can try and blame Messiah and the Raptors. We can try and blame the government of Canada. But in some ways, this is an individual choice for him also. That he, if he really wanted to, he could have done this because Serge was doing it. Let's just say that. Like I said, I spoke him up. I think that this failure was important for him. This was a failure by Siakam. And we can say that he had a failure in 2020. That's just the truth. That's just the truth. Siakam, Fiercely saying, I really appreciate how Siakam is respectful towards Toronto despite acknowledging being treated right by Indiana. It kind of stung when he gave Indiana a shout out, but he's grateful. I don't hate that. In some ways, he needs that proper love and equal love for them. That's his present team, but he doesn't forget about us. And that's an important part too. So now I'm not in competition with Pacers Nation for the love and respect of Siakam. I'm confident in knowing that, you know what? He's a champion with us first, and his first place was us. But everything that happened since, it's the Pacers. But we can share in the love and the admiration for him still going forward no matter what. And in some ways, I'm happy to share him with Pacers Nation. And I don't get upset when he shows admiration and love and camaraderie with his new teammates and his team that he's on now. That's how it's supposed to be. That's how it's supposed to be. Neil's here. Good to see Blackhawk. Didn't matter if Pascal and Scotty were going off back then because other players needed to step up as well. Go with yourself and win a chip. P.S. Didn't matter if Pascal and Scotty were going off back then. What do you mean by that? I don't know what that statement means. But other players need to step up as well. No, we were in transition period. And like we said, there was a void with Kawhi leaving. Siakam tried to fill it. The team lost more and more championship pieces as the years went on. And, we just degraded. And we had a very unfortunate situation of an 82-game schedule on the road. So there's a lot to it. There's a lot of reasons why the Raptors fell after the championship. Kawhi, sure. The pandemic, sure. Tampa, sure. That's all there. And then the brain drain of our great players, the Gasol, Ibaka, eventually Kyle and Norman and more going over the time. It's just how it is. It's just how it is. Reggie saying ownership didn't think Pascal could be that guy, hence the roster construction. The decision was made to build around Scotty. Masai had better deals with Sacramento, Golden State. However, he gave Siakam the respect and allowed him to choose. Yeah. And I love that, and I appreciate that, and I don't mind that. Some people may be mad. Well, Masai, you messed up. You should have got the absolute best deal and traded Siakam wherever. We don't care. But no, that shows the humanitarian, the family side of taking care of people that you care about, and it absolutely worked out. I don't know if Siakam – well, think about if Siakam was in Sacramento right now. It would not have gone anywhere. It would be probably just spinning his wheel like the Kings are. The Pacers were an organization on their way up and doing things right, so it's the best place for him to land on his feet. So I can't get mad at that about that, man. I can't get mad about that kind of stuff with that. I think that a big factor in this is, once again, some guys are Darko guys and some guys aren't. And Siakam, not necessarily a Darko guy. Gary, not necessarily a Darko guy. And sadly, Chris Boucher, not necessarily a Darko guy. And Darko guy does matter in Darko's system because it's a certain kind of way it is, and everybody has to be a Darko guy. And that's part of it right there. So if you guys want to blame someone for why Siakam's not on the team, I would say Rajakovic is fine because in some ways his scheme is not fitting to Pascal and what he does. In some ways it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And that's part of it right there. So he's saying he gave him the respect. Neil's saying PS is always in the top two to run the court on a break. None of the rooks can consistently beat him. He's just faster and he works hard and he gets up and down the court. It's fantastic. Fantastic. Nameless is here. So proud of that man, Pascal. Good to see the Paisano. Good to see you, sir, on a Sunday morning. Neil's saying also Pascal has to get that lob to shut down the naysayers, which means he has to take down SGA. I can't lose this year because I'm pro SGA and Pascal. Yeah, we can't lose. At the beginning of the year, I said when I knew the Raptors were probably not going to be a championship contender, I want the Pacers versus the Thunder in the finals. I said that in October, guys. And we got it. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. There's so many different combinations that would not be what I want. And this is exactly the finals I wanted. Exactly. The number one teams on both sides I wanted to line up at this point. I'm so proud of this. And a lot of it does have to do with Team Canada and Siakam. That is these two teams. And I couldn't have gone better, man. Cleveland and Boston find their way out. And then New York, woo. Lakers not even trying. Woo. Oh, yeah. And even Denver going. That was all important stuff that happened in this playoff season. that was absolutely delectable to me. I love it. I relished it all. Celtics out, boom, yes. Cleveland out, boom, yes. Now New York out last night. Yes, and yes. We can't lose, Blackhawk. We can't lose. That's right. Gerald saying it smooth. Did they have better offers from Golden State or Sacramento? Masai didn't lead me to believe that was the case. I've heard this rumor too, also. The deals were probably weird. And in some ways, we got to remember also that deal wasn't as good as it could have been from the Pacers. A lot of people make the joke that they didn't even have to trade any of their core, and that's why they're doing so well to do what they did, trading Bruce Brown and what they traded us. But in some ways, look, the thing about that deal was the picks. It was the number one picks that we got for Siakam that were so valuable. Not necessarily Jordan Nwora and Kyra Lewis and all that shit. It was the picks. And, there probably was a better deal out there, Gerald. And the Siakam trade went partly because that's where Siakam wanted to go. And there's nothing wrong with that. That just shows that Masai's flexibility. He can fit all the things. We can get good stuff for us. We can take care of Siakam and let him land in the right place. And because we care about him, we're going to do that instead of trading with Golden State. Who knows? Maybe Golden State was trying to trade us James Wiseman, guys. That could very well be it. And who the hell would we have gotten from Sacramento? Seriously, at that time. I think that those deals might have been better, and that may be true. But I'm glad it went the way it did because it worked out for Siakam, and it's going to end up working out for us also. And we did it with honor. That's what I say. We did it in honor. That's right. Fiercely saying Reggie Miller low-key taunting Knicks Nation as he wore all black yesterday. He got asked why, and he deemed it was appropriate. That's awesome, man. I love that. I'm really a big Reggie fan. When the Pacers were battling the Knicks, I was always rooting for Indiana against them back in the day. I was rooting for Reggie and Rick Smits and Detlef Schrempf and all those guys. Yeah, that old Pacer team, Derek McKee, Dale Davis, even our guy Antonio before he came to play for us. I was always rooting for Indiana back then against the Knicks in the 90s also. So I love this. That they put the Knicks out 2 years in a row now. This is fantastic. It's fantastic stuff, man. Nako saying, I think BI is slightly better fit for Scotty anyways. He is. That's part of it. In some ways, it's partly the bag. It's the tricks. It's what they can do. And Bobby is looking at this with fit. And, he went all out to get Brandon this year. And it's not a silly thing that he did. It's not like casually thought out. He really intricately thinks about what's going to work. And he probably talks to Darko. He asked Darko, well, what do you think about Brandon down in New Orleans, Darko? Do you think that he might be able to do your system with Scotty the way you would want him to? Oh, Bobby, if you could get Brandon Ingram, I would be so happy. Get him if you can get him. Okay. All right. I'll call New Orleans right now, Darko. Maybe some shit went down like that. I'm telling you, man, there's a lot of good communication on our team, and fit matters with our team. Like, fit matters for the Pacers. That's part of the reason why they're doing so well. Fit matters for the Thunder. That's part of the reason why they're in the finals, these two teams. You could throw talent together like the Lakers and other teams do. It doesn't mean that shit sticks to the wall. It means you may have just a confusing, crazy, weird-ass shit team that doesn't do well. It looks good on paper. The Sixers look real great, but that fit doesn't work personality-wise or even play style-wise. That's what being a GM is. You got to think about the fit and talking to your coach and figuring out what fits right. And that's what the Raptors are doing right now. And that's why all the fans who are calling for so many trades and free agency and all this shit this summer, they are tailoring this team right now with what they've got already to fit correctly as a puzzle. And every single time y'all put trade rumors out there, RJ for this, Scotty for this bullshit, you're fucking with that fit, is what I'm telling y'all. And the Indiana Pacers and the Thunder are good examples of fit and a very, very smart, detailed plan as an overall view picture of what your team to look like. Instead of just willy-nilly making deals because of names like Cat and Mikal Bridges like the Knicks did. So can you listen to me, casual Raptors Nation, that does not think that our team is good enough to compete. Bobby's not wasting his damn time building a team that don't fit and is not going to be successful. We are going to be successful next year. And partly it's going to be because they fit this team to fit right with the pieces. And PASCAL in some ways was a piece from an old jigsaw puzzle we used to do out the cottage. And we bought a new puzzle. And now we got to put that puzzle together. You take that old puzzle piece from the old puzzle, you try and put it in the new puzzle, it doesn't fit, then you trade them to Indiana. So, I mean, that's it right there. Fit is important for the Raptors. And you know what? Grady, Jacoby, Jamal, Ulrich, all these guys are fitting with a whole big picture that Bobby has. And that's why we're doing this way. And Brandon Ingram fits in the idea of what we're doing a little bit better than Siakam. And it's partly because of the player build and how they are on the court and what their action is. And in some ways, Brandon has some really good isolation actions that don't necessarily mean that he has to have the ball. He can get the ball quickly and do spot shooting, and he can even do some stuff on his own, but he's also a really, really good passer. He's an underrated passer, and people aren't going to realize that until next year when they see him show up, and they'll see it. And they'll be like, holy shit, he passes just like Scotty and RJ. He's moving the ball around. He's not just calling his number all the time. Because that's the thing. We know that Gary, Pascal, and Chris can be black holes. They can be people that get the ball to them and it doesn't go to the next person. And that's part of being a Darko guy or not. Is that ball staying with you more often than not and you are taking the shot? Or is it getting passed around a little bit more? That may be the biggest thing to be a Darko guy right here, is what I'm saying. Gary Trent Jr. was a black hole. You throw that ball to Gary Trent, he's shooting it. We know that. And, on that scale, Siakam's going towards that more. In some ways, that's part of the whole thing. He doesn't get shots for himself, but when that ball does find him in his hands, he's going to take it. He's going to take it, and rightfully so, because he's good like that. That's what I'm saying. G saying teams like the Heat and Clippers were secretly practicing during the quarantine, and players with courts in their homes were practicing. Pascal was in a condo without court access. Yeah, we can make all the excuses in the world for it. It doesn't change what happened. And we could, woulda, could. I rather woulda, coulda, should. That idea is like, man, we had Siakam right. Could we have won a second championship this next year? Because it's a very valid thing to woulda, coulda, shoulda. It's a very valid thing. Those are hot air climates. In the U.S., like I said, they didn't treat the lockdown as seriously as we did. So, people were able to move around and do stuff a lot more in L.A. and Miami than in Toronto. And that's part of it. And you guys are right. He was stuck in a condo. But so was Serge Ibaka. And he was still putting those weights in his arms. And he was doing them and stuff like that. I don't know what Siakam was doing exactly. He did say he was binge watching TV, is what he said. And listen, this is not a detraction to him. This is the one negative knock I have on him in this whole entire stream. It's fair. And it's also, out of love and just talking about his evolution and that there is negative sides to it that had to be part of what made him to who he is, the product he is today. The product he is today. That's part of it right there. Wayne's saying, based on your reporting of that meeting between the four, front office had no choice. I'm only referring to Pascal, nobody else. His agent wanted max money. He was not willing to, it seemed, to do a Brunson type deal. Yeah, this is another part of it. Is like everybody conveniently forgets salary cap is something, and we can't just be crazy like we're printing money like Mr. Monopoly and just spend money on every which way and just keep everybody that way. That's the other part of it that's not realistic about keeping Siakam when people just say, oh, it's easily, we should just magically kept him. It's a huge chunk of a percentage of our salary cap. And in some ways, that chunk needs to be flexible for the picture with what works with Darko guys. And that's part of it. At that crossroads is saying, all right, is he a Darko guy? Can he fit Darko's philosophy and do it right? And he tried earnestly. In fact, that was the whole thing about that half season that Pascal was coached by Darko. Is Darko came to him and he said, I'm going to ask you to do things a bit differently. I want you to fit in a system that I'm envisioning. And Siakam said, yeah, they're asking me to do things that I'm not totally used to, but I like the challenge and I'm willing to try and do what the coach wants. And even Rajakovic came back later and said, Siakam's trying really hard and I give him a lot of credit for doing things differently because I'm asking him to all of a sudden. So we tried, y'all. That half season with Dennis, OG, and Pascal on our team still was them trying to do it. And they could have traded Siakam before and he would never played for Darko. But they gave it a chance at least. And we have to say that. We have to say that right there. Nako's saying players shouldn't be expected to do Brunson deals, but they should be applauded when they do. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I get what you're saying. Everybody's different. And, the NBA career is so short and you got to get the money while you can in that really quick period. So I don't get mad at people like Fred for getting 40 plus and going to Houston. I don't get mad for Siakam playing hardball with Bobby Webster and saying with Todd Rampera, we want the max and we know he's worth it. We're looking around the league and this is what we see. And in some ways you're going to have to do this if you want to continue to have him. And that puts Bobby and Masai in a tough place, uncomfortable because there's feelings of family and, he's like a son and, but they got to do things and it's tough. And in some ways tough goodbyes happen. And that's what happened here. And it's totally the right way to do it. Honestly, I think they handled the PASCAL thing as best as they could. Seriously, if you really look at the whole thing and actually look at the timeline of it, I think they handled it as best they could. And every Raptors fan who thinks that there was just a magical path forward where Siakam could be a Raptor and it would just all magically work like a fairy tale storybook ending, you're crazy. You are crazy. You don't understand all the ins and outs of this all. And it's important. The fit in Indiana is a specialized thing that actually works at this point. There's no telling if the fit would continue to work here. It maybe we're just spinning our wheels and having failure, and in Siakam's contract's in the way of us getting anywhere in progress. We let him go and say goodbye and wish him well. We have the room to grow and rekindle and start over again, and that's what we've done. And that was the right move. That really was the right move. Let's see. G saying Brunson's father works for the Knicks. Yeah, that's a big part of it right there. That's a big part of why he took that deal. And he's a Knicks kid. He grew up with the Knicks around him. So he's willing to do that kind of stuff. That's a very specialized kind of thing right there. It's a very specialized thing. All right, I lost my place. I'm coming back to it. Brunson's father works for the Knicks, so the chances of him being traded are probably very low. Knowing this makes it easier to take friendly deals. Friendly deals are also easier to trade, high risk. That's another good point by G. Honestly, I'm going to give him a dunk. Because look, you get on a deal, he's attractive to the rest of the league, and then all of a sudden you got to start thinking about trading. But obviously, Jalen Brunson's on a no trade list with the Knicks, and I think their fans would agree with that, even though he may be in the way of them winning championship in some ways. But yeah, that's a special case. In some ways, it's collusion. In some ways, that's why we need kids like Gary Trent Jr. to come in that had a legacy father that played on our team already. You know, that's important. In some ways, that's why I like the Gary Trent Jr. playing for us, is because that's a symbol of Gary Trent Sr. played for us before. And there was a proclivity to want to play for Toronto by Gary. You know, if Carter Lowry ends up coming around on our team down the road and he's a stellar player like Jalen Brunson someday, and he wants to do a similar kind of thing for Toronto because of his memories with his dad on the Raptors, hey, I wouldn't be upset about that, would it? No, he may be more likely to do it with Philly. I don't know. His loyalty is. Maybe he would have the loyalty towards Toronto because of his father being the GOAT. But think about that. That's what I'm saying. We want that kind of culture and longevity and legacy between generations, that if there's some Raptor that's played recently, like who knows? I don't even know the sex of Scotty's kid. What if Scotty had a little boy last year? In some ways, Scotty Barnes Jr. coming up, or Scotty Barnes the third. I don't even know. I don't even know if he's like this junior already. I think he is. Comes up, and he is a player in like 20 years from now. Seriously, let's think about this. And Rick Brunson and the Knicks are benefiting from that kind of legacy situation. That's what it is right there. Stargate saying, let's see how long Tibbs holds on to the Knicks head coach. His press conferences were so tired and stupid, and he's deflecting, and he's really not owning his fault in some ways for what's happened with the Knicks. And everybody knows what it is. We've talked about it over and over again this whole entire year. The Achilles heel of the Knicks, and it absolutely came through in the end. I called this at the beginning of the year, that if Tibbs is going to overplay his starters and not have a rotation or a bench, it will catch up with him in the end, and it did in this Pacers series right now. So Knicks fans, you go ahead and get the pitchforks and torches for Tom Thibodeau, because he is a huge reason why y'all failed yesterday. Because he was stubborn and he overplayed your players and he didn't spread the wealth to more players on your team, specifically my man Achua. That's right. Why isn't Precious in your playoff rotation? What the hell? He's a veteran of the playoffs. He played lots of games. You don't trust the young man? What the hell? Why wouldn't you play Achua? He could have helped you with your depth. He helped us a lot in that first round against the Sixers and Joel Embiid that one year. Why wouldn't you utilize him, Tom Thibodeau? That's your own damn fault. That's what I say right there. That's right. That's what I say. Nako's saying Pacers as a team came into the playoffs hella underrated. Yeah, and I like that they were chanting that at Tyrese and PASCAL after the game when they were on Inside the NBA. Underrated, underrated. You know, people, that's funny because this year Tyrese is the most overrated player by the NBA players poll. And last year, Siakam was the most overrated player. Something's not right. Something's not right. It sounds like there's haterade for these guys, is what it sounds like to me. Wayne saying the Pacers system helps Siakam because he's not the focus. Yeah, I agree with this. His points are from Raptors system of running and being open. Every analyst says Pacers win with pace, and PASCAL is that pace. Yeah, in some ways, you're right. He's like the actual moniker of the team. You know, maybe we'll have a player on the tempo that actually sets the tempo. We'll say that is the tempo of the tempo. He is the pace of the Pacers. That totally makes sense. Wayne, you're getting a dunk for this. I love that. He is the pace of the Pacers. And he ain't no pace car. He's one of those race cars that are coming after the pace car because he's that fast. He's that fast. Wayne Strainer getting on the dunk chart today. You're at 42 also, man. A couple 42 guys here. There you go. Former Jakob Pertl's number. Let's keep going. Let's see. P skills, fire. I like that. Nako's saying PASCAL is the better player. Pacers don't win without Halliburton. I can convince myself to put Halliburton over Brunson. That's such a matchup, WWE, and they are a lot of shit talking. They're friends. I love that clip of them stealing Jalen Brunson's wallet and going and buying Funyuns with Tyrese Halliburton and Brandon Ingram at the Team USA practice. And man, I wonder, like, it kind of makes you think Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton are actually good friends. Like, they may be competitive and cutthroat on the court, and they may do some wrestling angle or something like that. But in just like wrestling, they're play acting, and then they're actually kind of really close friends behind the scenes, and they respect each other. I don't know. There's probably a lot of trash talking for sure, but there's friendly, and I don't know. They seem like they're friends on the down low, actually, even though they're absolutely arch rivals on an NBA court. So it's kind of an interesting relationship, Halliburton and Brunson. Very, very interesting. Stargate saying, I don't like the energy surrounding Halliburton. His body language around Siakam seems off. Hope this isn't going to be an issue. PASCAL is such a humble guy and a team player. Yeah, that could get into it. I mean, Halliburton is Halliburton's son, right? And man, that John Halliburton, man, he was acting out really cocky. And there is a cockiness to Tyrese Halliburton that is not totally humble. That one thing I will say is Tyrese has had really bad games where he's humbled himself in failure. And that kind of keeps a balance for him. But I worry about that energy about Tyrese also. And I do kind of worry about, especially after last night, a jealousy towards Siakam possibly. There might be something building there. I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. I hope that none of that is actually happening. Stargate saying Tyrese seems very self-centered. Yeah, I would agree with that. Smooth saying Giannis to the Knicks speculation has begun. Geez, well, they got to have something to grasp onto, right? Right, Smooth? They got to have something to hold on to in their lives. Well, they don't have the chance of Larry O'Brien now, so they're going to get in the sweepstakes for the big names this summer. That's their next part. UC saying if P. Skills wins Finals MVP, then he has to be a Hall of Famer. Seriously. Yeah, that's 2 championships with 2 different teams, and that's a pretty good resume. Sometimes just winning one championship is enough for you to get in the Hall of Fame. There's guys in the Hall of Fame that have way less. I love Tracy McGrady, but man, he doesn't have the same resume as PASCAL Siakam as far as awards and accolades. Seriously. McGrady may have led the league in scoring a few times, but did he ever win? No. He got a certain accumulation of things. He has fame because he's a fame guy. But in some ways, I could make a better case for the Hall of Fame than Tracy McGrady for PASCAL Siakam. I really could. I could make a way better I could make a better case in some ways for Siakam to be in the Hall of Fame over Vince Carter. Not going to lie. Seriously. Stargate saying at Lex, is that the same channel that Coach Roach and that clown Beyond is on? No, it's not the Basketball Rewind, but Coach Roach does appear on To The Point regularly with Brian. No, To The Point is a collaborator of me for like 4 years now. Since I've begun this channel, I've been collaborating with Brian and To The Point. They've been the most steady collaborator of the YouTube channels with my channel. Brian's a little out there, man. He's kind of a wild one. He's not totally a true Raptors fan. He admits that, but he's fair. And like, I enjoy our interaction because he's kind of a little crazy. But yeah, we'll be doing these finals reactions after the finals games starting on the 5th with game 1. That's right. It's going to be fun. No, it's not Basketball Rewind. Fiercely saying time plus effort plus consistency plus heart equals success. That's it right there. I'm telling you right now, that's part of the DeRozan code. And that is the DNA that is inside people like PASCAL Siakam. Fiercely, you're going to get a dunk for putting that formula out there. That's a little bit of algebra, and it's the right kind of algebra. You have 20 dunks for the year now, Fiercely, at 60. 60 points on the dunk charts for Fiercey. Time, effort, consistency, heart, loyalty, success. Smooth saying Halliburton's dad it irritates me, man. Yeah, did they show him on TV at all last night? Probably not. Maybe up in a box or something like that. Well, he's only allowed in Indiana. He won't be going to Oklahoma City, so he won't be at game 1 and 2. Still don't like the stuff he pulled with Giannis. I don't either. On hindsight, I'm like, he was immature in that moment, but like Charles said, everybody makes mistakes. And you know what? He got punished for it.
and in some ways a lifetime ban from seeing his son ever play again, that's overkill. That's not the right punishment for him. I think scaring him and telling him, yeah, don't ever do this shit again is done. I don't think John Halliburton is ever going to have any kind of issue like this ever again, guys. I'm going to tell you right now. He's never, ever going to have this issue again. Stargate saying, where's Amit? Is everything okay with him? I have no idea. Of course, the young man lives in Israel. And of course, there's a lot of really bad stuff going on in that region of the world. I wish him well. I hope that kid is doing great. Maybe he's coming back to Toronto for the summer to go to Global Jam and hang out with his granddad. Either way, if Amit the GOAT is watching this channel today and he hears me say this, I wish you the well, man. Bless you. And I hope you're just safe, man. We do wonder how you're doing. And, you know, it may be some of my rhetoric against Israel and the Gaza genocide is turned off some people. Him as an Israeli that lives in Israel, you know, that's a tough situation for him to be following a channel like mine where I'm so outspoken against Netanyahu and his barbaric genocide of the Palestinian people. So it's a little awkward. Let's just put it that way. But he has very much voiced his opinion that he's against the genocide as an Israeli, and he does not agree with what his country is doing. So that's a promise that I love, that the youth of Israel and a lot of very sane and smart and good people in Israel do not support the barbaric, very fucked up shit that's happening right now with a food blockade where they're starving people into famine, and thousands and thousands of people will starve to death in one of the most inhumane, awful ways that you could do to people. And it's a genocide. It's a war crime. And the time will stand to show this. And hopefully, just like the Nuremberg trials, there will be trials in the future for those that are responsible for this awful war crimes that are going on towards the Palestinian people in genocide right now. That's where I stand on that. And now Amit and his family, I don't know where they stand. Amit personally may stand a lot side with me, but maybe his parents don't. Maybe they walked by the room when I was going on a tirade about this, and they're like, oh, you can't watch him ever again because, you know what? He's not for our people in our country. Because, you know, we want blanket allowance to just genocide people because we were genocided. We got allowed. If it happens to us, two wrongs make a right. It was wrong for them to do that to us in Nazi Germany, so we can do it to the people of Palestine. That's the most fucked up thing about it, is y'all had that done to y'all, and y'all turn around and do it to somebody else. That's messed up. I'm sorry. That makes y'all like really fucked up because you took the horrors and tragedies that happened to you and gave it a license to yourself to do it to other people. That's messed up. I have no respect for that at all. At all. Fiercely saying 2.1% chance. Yeah, it definitely needs to be updated. Yesterday's price before being crowned is not today's price. There you go, Fiercey. I love it. Stargate. Haven't seen Amit in a while. Hope is all well with him. Yeah, if he's anywhere near bombings or any kind of warfare in Israel, we definitely want him to be safe. I mean, I like the kid. I thought that he was a juggernaut in our trivia. He is on this trophy as the 2024 Raptor Freak trivia champion for last year. In some ways, he was a youngster that needed to be corralled because that man was he was insanely competitive, insanely competitive, and like really, really tough to beat. And he earned his championship last year. He really did. He really did. Respect the Amit the GOAT. Respect the Amit the GOAT. Reggie saying Indiana should be thanking their lucky stars. PASCAL chose them. They really need to put a statue up for him. I agree with this wholeheartedly. Smooth, you're going to get a dunk for this one. They do really need to understand just how much they need to revere him. Because honestly, he chose y'all and may have had something to do with his manager and Andrew Nebhard, but he chose y'all. And that is a huge, you guys aren't doing this without Siakam. I'm sorry. You could have Halliburton and somebody else, and you're not doing this. You have to have Siakam. He's the essential piece. He's the essential piece. It's this right here, buddy. It's this right here. Fiercely saying, although Reggie's funeral outfit was funny, I gave him a side eye when noticing he voted Hallie for MVP, but gave a huge hug to PASCAL when he was named. So you can see who voted who? Fiercey, tell me where I can see who voted who, because I'd like to see who voted for Halliburton and who voted for Siakam in that vote. Can you show me where, or is there a link? If you can't post it here, can you put it in the Facebook chat or on the Discord so that I can see it at some point? Because I do want to see who voted for who. I do. Wayne saying PASCAL is the same player he was when he was here. Major difference would be the isolation game, which he doesn't do at Indiana, and rightly so. PASCAL is not a clutch player, and he doesn't have to be. Once again, I'll disagree with this point. Every single player in this league, it's up to them whether they want to choose to grow. And he's grown. I'm sorry. It's just time passing, you grow. It's wisdom you grow. In some ways, it's reflection on his time in Toronto away from it is where he grows. Not being in Toronto has allowed him the space to kind of assess the bad years in Toronto and really take the lessons from it in a better way. When you're in the middle of it and you're dealing with it, you could see SIAKAM in the interviews, depressed near the end in Toronto, like, oh man, the losing sucks, man. I can tell you right now, the losing's really tough. I don't enjoy the losing. It sucks. I want to win. It's like you could tell he was depressed. So in some ways, you got to get out of that situation, have some time pass, and then reflect on it. And in some ways, he's gleaning new knowledge from the failures in the last couple of years in Toronto that are benefiting him right now for the successes he's earning right now. So listen, Wayne, we can look at it in two different ways. You may be looking at it on-court product and actual gameplay and what he's doing. I'm talking about the human being. I'm talking about the whole roundedness, the mentality and the maturity and the aging and the growing up. And that has continued since he's left. And there's no way he's plateaued as an individual or person. He continues to add parts to his game, and he is getting better. You can't say that this is true, that he is the same player. That's not true. He's older and wiser, and he has had time to reflect on his time on the Raptors away from it so that he can take that knowledge and actually use it in a way that's helpful for him now. In the middle of it, he couldn't. He was drowning in just trying desperately to get the Raptors better. I'll agree with this. He's not totally a clutch player, but he has more confidence now than he did on the Raptors. And if that big shot is called for him, he's more likely to make it right now because some of the pressure's off his shoulders. And in some ways, he can show more signs of clutch in the environment of the Pacers than the Raptors in his last couple of years because there's more success that begets success. And yeah, it's easier with Halliburton there just in case. It's easier in that way. So yeah, he doesn't have to be. You're right about that. He doesn't necessarily have to be, but he can. He steps up and he does. Stargate saying, you want to talk about front offices making mistakes. Look no further than the Knicks. They should have kept DiVincenzo and Hartenstein. Those are heart players that play their asses off for that team. And Stargate is exactly right on that. Those were two missteps right there. Cool Cat saying, Pascal Siakam started organized basketball 18 years old. So his progression should never be looked at by age, but by his own trajectory arc. 2016 draft class, Halliburton Barnes have played ball more years than him. Yeah, this is a really good point by Cool Cat, and I'll agree with all of it. She's saying he didn't play organized basketball till 18. I didn't realize it was that late. I thought they got to him at around 15, but it's actually later than that. Holy crap. All right, Cool Cat's getting a dunk. I agree with this. I agree with this wholeheartedly. And in some ways, his arc is totally different. That's why the evolution in the arc of him is so special and different, because in some ways it's expedited and it's fast-tracked, but it's not fast-tracked and expedited in a shallow, hollow way that's cheap. It's very much fortified with the strength of extradited and fast with doing it the right way, but very quickly and fast. That's what I say about that. Stargate saying the 2X Knicks going to the finals, Toppin and Hartenstein. That's right. That's right. Maybe they miss Obi Toppin in New York also. That's right. Fiercey saying, I was born in Montreal, but raised specifically in Montreal North. So I'm proud mama to Lugetz and Benedict. Fiercey Jr. has a basketball signed by Lugetz. She refuses to play with it. That's a smart girl. You know, that basketball is probably going to be worth some money. You don't want to get it tarnished or worn on the court. Keep it in good shape. Yeah, very, very smart, Fiercey Jr. And I love that. I love that. This really is a Montreal North finals, man. And Chris Boucher can be proud. Fiercey can be proud. And the parents of Lugetz and Benedict, who are on Inbound documentary, yeah, be very proud, City of Montreal. You're going to see Larry O'Brien this summer, no matter what. That championship trophy will be coming to the north of Montreal. And I love to see Lugetz Dort holding it over his head, or Ben Mathurin holding it over his head in that primarily Haitian northern Montreal neighborhood up there. That's right. Bring it to the trenches. Bring it to the places where the kids come from nothing, and show them that if you do things right, like a man like Slim Duck or the Dorcher Chamber, that you can get to these kind of destinations in your life from a place like that. I'm telling you right now, I know that the north side of Montreal is tough because that's the coldest side and nobody wants to live up there, right? That's right. That's right. Let's go. Let's go. Trevor's saying Sergio Scariolo is set to meet with an NBA team. Who is it? Yeah, I saw this news the other day. It was so non-specific and no details. I kind of was like, okay, whatever this is, I'll just float past it. Some people are speculating it's the Phoenix Suns head coaching job. I think that's a little bit higher than what it is. I don't think it's what it is. I think he's getting an interview for an assistant coach job again. I don't think he's coming in for a head coach job. If he is, more power to him. That'll make us look good. If our former assistant coach Sergio is returning to the NBA as a head coach of the Phoenix Suns for next season, badass. I'd love that. But I think it's more likely he's coming back to interview for an assistant coach job, and it could be with any of the 30 teams. It will not be with the Raptors. I will tell you that. But it could be with, I don't know. There was no details on this. It's kind of like a half-ass little report, Trevor, because they're just saying Sergio's interviewing with the NBA team for a coaching job. It didn't tell me if it was assistant or head coach, and it didn't tell me the team. So it's not really news to me. It's just a weird half-ass speculation. Until I get the concrete deets, I don't know what to say about Sergio on this. That's right. Gerald's saying Cat's fine. Going all in for Mikal was a little weird. Knicks did have a better season. Fire Tibbs. No, I say Cat's a mess up because of Dante. You know, in some ways, Julius, he had a whole heart to him for New York that they miss. You know, in some ways, he did things right for that city in certain ways on the down low. And he may have been a lightning rod of different things in Knicks Nation. But Julius Randle, in some ways, should be looked at fondly by Knicks Nation. He really should. I think Cat, in some ways, is an imposter. Cat is one of these guys that doesn't have DeRozan code. I'm going to say that right now. We've talked about guys who have DeRozan code, like Jacoby Walter. I hope Scotty Barnes has it. I think he does. PASCAL SIAKAM. But who doesn't have it? I'm going to say Karl Anthony Towns doesn't have DeRozan code. You know why? Because he has a lot of athletic gifts and talent that's just handed to him. And in some ways, he has all the reason to just coast on it. Seriously. You think that Karl Anthony Towns works as hard as Siakam in the offseason? No. Do you think Karl Anthony Towns has gone through the fire mentally in his head to be the best competitor and to be the best competitor on the court? No, he's soft in some ways. That's the damn truth. That's just the damn truth. In some ways, he's a 7-foot guy who can shoot threes and he can do all kinds of stuff, but he doesn't play the grunt work for 7 foot. No, he doesn't. He spent a couple years in Minnesota looking good next to Rudy Gobert, doing all the true center details. And so in some ways, he's fool's gold because in some ways, he ain't going to give you the defensive center stuff correctly in the right way, in physicality and toughness, and they'll kind of compete because he's soft. Bodega Cat is a real thing. And that man does not have DeRozan code. And that's the thing. When you have big men like that, like Joel Embiid, like Kristaps Porzingis, they will get in the way of you winning because they look on the team as so important as a weapon that you have to utilize them. But if they don't have the stuff inside, like a DeRozan code, like PASCAL does, or SGA, they're not going to get as far as them because they're not built the same way. They don't have the code. And Cat doesn't have the code. I'm going to tell you that right now. He does not have DeRozan code. And I'm going to be doing this all the time now. I'm going to make this a thing, DeRozan code. I'm going to beat people over the head with talking about DeRozan code and saying, you either have it or you don't. And I'll tell you if you do or not. Because in some ways, DeMar will tell you too. Because he looks around the whole entire league. He says half these guys don't have they're not playing the right way. They're not playing for the right reasons like I do or what I'm doing. And Cat's one of those guys. He's on that other half. I'm going to say that right now. He's on that other half. I'm just going to say it is not the same. He doesn't work as hard because he's 7 foot and he's got athletic ability and he can coast on his talent. And he chooses to. That's what I want to say right there. Wayne saying Jamaicans do not call it rice and beans, Lex. The proper term is rice and peas, irrespective of the type of peas used. I apologize for that. This is me showing my culture of being an Aryan guy. I apologize for that. I should have caught that from my old days of going to Rasta Pasta and what the people there making them say. They always say rice and peas to me. So I guess I'm just institutionalized in this way as a white man. I apologize. So rice and peas. I apologize. I should have said that. Apologies to Scotty's mom. I mischaracterized your dish. That's right. Stargate saying, I hope Amit's parents didn't ban him from your channel, Lex. We kind of pro-Palestine around here. Well, so be it. I'm not I'm not conforming for any motherfucker. If I would, I'd probably be on Sportsnet by now. You know, seriously, I could have had a really good broadcasting career, but I'm really kind of a crazy person that doesn't like conform his morals just for the machine. I'm very anti-corporate. You know, Will Liu was able to do the Sportsnet thing for a year or two, but he got over it too at a certain point, had to leave. I don't think I would exist in that environment because fuck corporations, fuck that kind of mentality in business and ways. And in some ways, I wouldn't survive that. But you know what? I have the talent, I have the broadcasting chops and training to be able to go in that world, but I'd never chose to do it that way. So why would I conform my channel and my views on Palestine just for Ahmed's parents? No, I wouldn't do that. Lex has got to be Lex. And well, there's casualties along the way, unfortunately. I love that y'all are all here with me still. And the ones that have stuck with me here still are the ones that should be here with me. And the ones that have gone other places, well, that's just how it was supposed to be. And I have no remorse. That's just how it is. You work yourself to this point. Well, you work yourself to this point. In some ways, I get it. I'm a niche audience. I'm specialized. Some people are not as left as me, but they love the Raptors just as much as me. And I allow for that. But the Raptor Freak is a certain way politically, and he's going to be unfiltered and say whatever he's going to say on his channel. And that will turn off some people. And that may be the difference between having 1,000 subscriptions and having 10,000 subscriptions. But I don't give a fuck. And in some ways, that's part of what makes me the truth, and part of what makes me my truth, and part of what makes me unadulterated and not conforming to an algorithm for YouTube just to get extra clicks and views. And I appreciate everybody's rode with me like this, seriously. And I know that y'all value this aspect of me. That, you know, everybody can be scared and be like, I don't want to lose subscriptions, because if I say this, I'll lose subscriptions. Or I better do this on my channel more often because I really want to build and get through the algorithm. I don't give a shit about any of that. And in some ways, I've hurt my growth for it, but I don't care. That's not what I'm here for. That's not what I'm here for. And that's the big part of it right here. I wish Ahmed all the best. And I do miss the kid. I really do. I hope he would just pop in and say hi. Ahmed, if you are still listening to us on delay and you're just not here live, I tell you, I love you, man. And we do worry about you and care about you and in your position and what's going on. And you are a valued and respected Raptor Freak trivia champion. I know that was a crazy trivia season. It was close. And you came from behind and won it. And, man, I'm proud of you, man, for that. In some ways, you went against the odds. You went against, in some ways, what I thought was going to happen. And I'm proud of you, man, for it. I hope you're doing good. Nako's saying, did we trade all those picks? We did trade one of them to Utah, I think, when we did that deal with Kelly and Oshai. I think we drafted one of them. I think one of them is Jacoby. Jacoby is one of those picks. And we have one more coming to us. And I don't know if it's this year or next year. I'm not totally sure. Fiercey saying, wow, great observation, HC, in reference to Pascal's draft year. Yeah, I love going through that and looking at that. And UC saying, Jesus, that's wild. I know. I like saying that Masai flipped the 27th pick for the second pick in the draft. I mean, that sounds pretty impressive, right? That sounds pretty impressive. He flipped the 27th pick in the 2016 draft for the second pick and multiple other things along with it. That's pretty impressive, man. Wayne's saying Pascal winning the Eastern MVP allows me to finally detach myself from Pascal Siakam. He has moved on. I will celebrate his number being in our arena's ceiling, but he's no longer a Toronto Raptor. No, he is. He is, Wayne. And I don't want to be too contentious with you today, man. He'll always be a Raptor in our hearts. It's if you want to personally look at it that way, that's totally your right, and I won't have any problem with it. But for me, nah. And he is deep down inside. You know that, man. Come on. But if you want to look at it that way, that's fine. That's fine. UC saying 2016 draft class is almost a decade, and I can still see Pascal growing. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited. You know, it's hard to see the growth in older players. Like Kyle Lowry at a certain point kind of like hit his wall physically. And the more of the stuff that he's doing in the last few years has been mental and just kind of really smart stuff, like the heady vet, like the Chris Paul, Mike Conley type. You know, Chris Paul's still playing this league for now. And in some ways, you know, Chris Paul, he may have seemed like he hit his peak a long time ago, but he's still gaining knowledge. And as the body betrays you, the mind's supposed to make up for it as an NBA vet. And that's the thing that's going to be interesting to me about Siakam and his evolution in his later years is what happens when he starts slowing down physically in certain ways and isn't in his prime, like really still up there. I don't know if it'll be anytime soon is what I'm saying. But what if he has a long NBA career and at a certain point his physical gifts decline and he has to rely more on his smarts and his headiness about knowing the league for being a veteran for so long? That's a natural transition for many, many NBA players in their careers is when their body starts to fail them in certain ways, they have to transition to being more a cerebral player. So there could be actually another stage of evolution for Siakam later in his career. That's what I would say right there. Yeah. Yeah, let's see. Fiercey's got Justin Beaver on blast. Good to see an appearance from our Canadian content officer. And Mo's here, superfan Monique Lawrence. Good morning, Raptor Free crew. Congratulations to SIAKAM. And I want to remind everybody, we are 6 days away from the Superfans birthday party at NBA Restaurant Queen's Quay in Toronto, downtown, right on the lake. We will be there at 5:30 p.m. next Saturday, June the 7th. Monique will be there and a lot of other great people from the Raptor Freak family. And we're hoping Cool Cat can make it. I'll be there with Adriana, and there will be other people also coming, and also representatives from the Giants of Africa and the Raptors organization will be there also. So if you want to come down and celebrate Superfan Monique Lawrence's birthday with us, it's an official Raptor Freak hangout. I will be there myself with the classic card box. You can pilfer the box and take as many cards as you want, and just come down and shoot the shit with us in person. Meet old Lex in person. 5:30 on Saturday at the NBA restaurant. Superfan Mo's birthday, man. I'm so excited. I can't wait, Mo. I'm getting really excited about your birthday party and seeing everybody and coming down there and celebrating. That's what we want to do. We're coming down there to celebrate. Nako saying, I got respect Jonas, or not Jonas, Sabonis, Fred over Jamal Murray. You're going to say Domantas and Fred VanVleet over Jamal Murray. That's a crazy claim in some ways. I don't know. I think that Jamal and Domantas are close. Freddie, man, he's in there though. I like that he's in there. I think that they're very close, all three of them. That's a crazy statement right there, man. Crazy. Stargate saying, oh, and can Rick Carlisle get some respect as a coach, please, NBA? Yeah, he should. He wins a championship this year with this team. Well, he won a championship with Dallas in the past, and that'll make him a two-time champion with two different teams. And that'll get him in the realms of things like, some of the great coaches that have coached for multiple teams and won championships. I'm not thinking of any on the top of my head right now. Maybe Phil Jackson. Yeah, Phil Jackson did that, didn't he? He did that with LA and the Bulls. So, yeah, in some ways, it's not on the same level, but still, it's a kind of thing. Monique saying, greatest Cameroonian player ever, Pascal. Bye, Joel Embiid. I love it. I love it so much. Mo, I'm going to give you a dunk for rubbing that in Joel's face this morning. I'm going to give you a dunk for that. I mean, seriously, I don't know. Where's Joel Embiid? Is he posting on his Instagram stories a celebratory take on Pascal getting the Eastern Conference Finals MVP? Probably not. I don't think Joel, all's quiet on the Western Front from Joel Embiid. He's not celebrating that his Cameroonian compatriot achievement yesterday. I don't think he is. No. Stargate saying Joel Embiid is done. His career is over. I hope so. I'm all for this. Seriously, I'm very much for this. In some ways, I hope he hangs around and screws around with them for a couple more years and just is not going to work and holds them up some more still. If he just came out tomorrow and said, I'm retired, guys, and the Sixers start moving forward without him after that, I wouldn't like that as much. I want him to kind of screw them up for a couple more years still. I'm so bad for that. Trevor's saying, I'm going to the game 2 of the finals, Indiana versus Oklahoma City. You're going to go to game 2 in Oklahoma City, Trevor? Trevor J, jet setting, high flying and styling, profiling, Ric Flair lifestyle. Going to get on that plane from Fort Lauderdale and fly to the middle of the country, nowhere, Oklahoma City, just to watch our Canadians and Pascal play in the finals in game 2. Look at that. He's like, this is going to be so good. I got to go. So Trevor J is going to go to the game 2. I guess that's on the 7th of June. He's going. That's right. That's awesome, man. You're going to go to game 2. Awesome. Stargate saying, bringing it back a bit to the Raptors. Next season, the Raptors really need to at least make the playoffs. I don't mean play-in. I mean legitimately make us at least the 6th seed. I tend to agree with you. I think that would make a bold statement and really bring bona fide respect towards us if we went from out of the playoffs into straight up playoff spot and just skip the play-in altogether. I think that some of the pundits like Leo and Josh and Jack Armstrong and people like that would be saying the same thing. Like if the Raptors can skip the step of being in the play-in, kind of use the ones from the DeAndre DeRozan year and the failures of Scotty's rookie year against Philadelphia as that stepping stone and go right into a playoff spot, that would be fantastic. I agree with this completely. Mo's saying W stream, W vibes. Thank you, Mo. Thank you for being a producer and cutting me off at 3 hours. I'm finally here at 3. Oh, yikes. I got to get done. Wayne's saying, talking about Pascal, not Scotty. Pascal's major deficiency has been his free throw percentage. Is it improved? Pascal is a finished product, and the Pacers are extremely grateful he's plugging in play. Well, let's just agree to respectfully disagree. I think that everybody in their life is not a finished product ever. I think that you can live until the day you die, that you're continuing to strive and change, even in molecular ways and small, minute ways. And I can't agree with this. Even if it's not physically or shown in his game, there's mental aspects and experience that he gains and that he is continuing to progress and evolve as a player. Now, some players don't because they're not cognizant and thinking about it in the deep way. They just show up for practice, get their paychecks, and go to the games. And they're just really on a low level of operation mentally. And that is common in the NBA in some ways. I'm going to say that right now. But guys that are very much living their life in intention and are doing things in intensive ways, they can continue to progress like DeMar DeRozan and Pascal, even when it seems like they've hit their plateau. So I'll respectfully disagree once again, Wayne, with you saying that he is just a finished product. That's not true. And in fact, I just described how he could be more of a new evolution as his physical attributes decline. He has to pivot towards his mental aspects to lean on more and more. Cool Cat saying SIAKAM embraced it all. Raptors and Pacers. Pacers fan base has embraced me into the community, even though they know I'm for SIAKAM. SIAKAM fans are welcoming. See, I love that. And that's part of why the fit with Indiana is awesome and glorious. Because who knows? If SIAKAM had gone to New York like OG and Cool Cat was trying to invade those spaces as a SIAKAM fan is coming with him, they may have rejected her and said, no, we don't want you in a Raptors fan. Nah, he's a Knick now, and you ain't got nothing to do with him. You know, Pacers fans have been very good about sharing. And Knicks fans have been too, for the most part, about OG and RJ and Emmanuel. There's been a lot of sharing there too. Nako saying, I think Pascal would have been fine with Darko. Pascal seemed genuine when he said he likes talking to Darko. I think it's completely a career move. No, the overtures were there, Gerald. They were fine. They were very professional, and they treated the whole thing in the right way. They weren't acting out. You know, SIAKAM in some ways could have been toxic in saying, I see the writings on the wall and I'm on my way out of here, even though I love it here and I didn't want to leave. He could have acted out. He could have done all kinds of stuff, but he's the ultimate professional. And they were gentlemen about it. They were communicative about it. Rajakovic was very open about his expectations and told SIAKAM, and SIAKAM tried his best to do as best as he could. And to some success, he did get success inside Rajakovic's system. But we're talking about fit, man. We're talking about fit. And in some ways the fit was not right. And that's what matters the most in this, is that right there. I think that's what it is. Wayne saying, thank you, Lex. That statement about Darko's type of player is so germane. Strange enough, it's ironic that Pacers don't do isolation ball and Pascal is fitted in. Difference is as to be personnel playing. Yeah, and some of it is the pieces that are there are not pieces we have here. Halliburton, namely, being one of them. Miles Turner, another one, as far as three-point shooting as a center. In some ways, as much as Jakob and Pascal were best friends and love each other, they don't necessarily need to be playing on the same team because in some ways they don't necessarily have the right fit as the center of power forward combo. And that is the difference. In some ways, Miles Turner is like gloriously fits Pascal in such a good way. And a lot of people noticed that and thought that before the trade was done. In fact, this was part of the reason why the Pacers coveted SIAKAM for years before they landed the deal and got him, is because they could actually see how he would fit with Miles Turner so well as a stretch center that can shoot threes very well. And we didn't have that position. And we didn't have the clutch player exactly like Halliburton on our team either. And those two positions are part of the fit that makes it work really well for SIAKAM in Indiana. And that's the difference. It's nothing against us. It's just that we didn't have the pieces exactly like Indiana. And also the place in their build in the timeline with SIAKAM's place in his career in his prime. And like we said, Cool Cat was saying this all the time 2 years ago. I don't want to waste SIAKAM's prime in a rebuild with a young guy named Scott, and where he could be going for championships right now, like he is as of yesterday, instead of being on a Raptors team that's going to try and just be trying to make the playoffs for a couple years. And she was right about that. In some ways, I told her at that time, I don't give a fuck about what SIAKAM wants as an individual. I want what's good for the Raptors because I'm team first. And she was a little bit more Pascal first, but she was right. She was right. And I'll say this in hindsight's 2020. Her worries for SIAKAM and his place in his career with what was going on with the Raptors were well-founded. And this is more evidence to why everything that happened the way it is exactly how it's supposed to be happening. Exactly right there. Exactly right there. Stargate saying, I only see two teams in the East of any real concern to the Raptors next season. Cavs, who should run it back, and Pacers. Everyone else we could beat if healthy. I like to believe this, and I want to get behind you, and I'll blindly believe it with you going forward because that's the kind of optimistic, passive Raptors fan that I am. I think you're right in some ways. I don't worry about the Celtics. We played the Celtics very well in the last few years, and we have beaten them pretty good at times. We beat them this year. And, the Knicks have had our number. There's been a lot of ref manipulation in the Knicks games to make sure that they're beating us down. But I don't know. We'll have to see what happens with the Knicks in this offseason. And let's see if they get worse, because that's just how GMs do when they overreact to failure. So we'll have to see what happens with the Knicks. But I can get behind the statement by Stargate. Trevor's saying all Indiana Pacers players were dressed in black. The announcers have mentioned, so they already know they were going to New York. What they were going to New York. What? They're not going to New York. They finished the series. They don't have to go to New York now. They're done. Smooth saying BI is a legit proven first option. He's done it before at all-star level. Scotty can now settle into his jack-of-all-trades prototype. He's much better in that role. I see exactly what Smooth's saying here. I see exactly what Smooth's saying here. And I think that in some ways, the comparison of Brandon Ingram versus Pascal Siakam is, in some ways, it is a better fit. And it's not a slight to Siakam. It's just like we said, they're different puzzle pieces and different puzzle sets. And Brandon Ingram's puzzle piece from New Orleans actually fits with the Raptors. Well, not for sure. We have to see. In theory, it fits, but in practice, we'll have to see next year when he's healthy and he shows up. But I think it looks good. By all accounts of looking at it, this is the thing. Brandon is more clutch than Siakam, naturally. This is something I'll say is absolutely true, Wayne's saying. In some ways, Siakam has not been the most clutch player when he could have been, but Brandon is. And that will really benefit the Raptors, seeing as we don't have a Halliburton. In some ways, we're going to need Brandon Ingram to be making Kawhi-like shots in the last 5 minutes of games for us this season. And we will see it. And it'll be different than Fred and Pascal trying to do it for us 3 years ago, guys. It's going to be very different. Trust me. It's going to be more on the level of like he's doing Mamba mentality kind of stuff to do it, because he has Mamba mentality. And that's the way he tried to make his game, Brandon Ingram. That's right. That's right. Kareem saying Pacers never sold out, never tanked. And Miles Turner is a true professional, seeking it all the way through. Ingram will unlock our roster. I love Kareem's statement here. It's like the Pacers didn't look for shortcuts. That's the thing. This is the common thread on these teams that rise to the top. The cream rises to the top without shortcuts and fast tracking and trying to make flashy moves like getting Luka and thinking, oh, that just adds up to a championship all the time. No, none of that shit adds up to a championship. You have to build the foundation, and it has to be built like a rebuild is. And you have to stay true to your vision and not go crazy and make too many moves all of a sudden to screw it up. You have to steadfast and be smart about it. And the Pacers, the Nuggets, these are two teams that have done this successfully over the years recently. The Nuggets took a long time to get to their championship. They took a long time developing their team to get to that point. And the Pacers are on that journey too. It may not get a Larry O'Brien this season because the Thunder are doing the same thing, but the Pacers are doing it the right way, just like Kareem said. They never sold out. They never tanked, and they even stayed loyal to a long-time trade target called Miles Turner. And that's amazing right there. They could have traded Miles Turner so many different times down the road, but they're very thankful they didn't. And it's very rewarding for Miles to get to this level of success with the Pacers after so many years of being there, over a decade. And the fact that they kept him has actually really helped because of the fit of him and Siakam, honestly. They could have traded Miles Turner 3 or 4 years ago, and none of this shit would be happening the same way. So in some ways, their steadfastness of holding on to Turner and being smart about this is really paying off at this point. It's really, really paying off right now. Brian's saying this. All right, here, King's in the chat now. What is he saying here real quick? This is Brian. Stargate, hell no, it ain't Basketball Rewind with that midget. It's to the point with me and the King. Man, you didn't have to call Kenyon that, man. That's not nice. That's not nice. That's actually a slur. And I think that there's certain words that people should not use. One of them is the R word. I won't even say it right now. I feel like the R word has been brought into the zeitgeist and been said more by an idiot named Elon Musk, who actually uses that word. And it shows that he is actually a very immature person. The R word should be banned. If you don't know what the R word is, well, it's RETARD. And that word is absolutely a word that we need to it's banned by me. You know, I personally banned myself from using the N word, obviously. Another word that I want banned in some ways is the M word that you just said, because it's a derogatory slur towards little people. And I've talked to a little person, there's a friend of mine named Tony. And yeah, he hates that word. That's basically like calling a little person the N word in their world. Now, the people that you can get away with calling that term is wrestlers. They're proud to be called midgets, because that is a tradition of midget wrestling, and they were always called midgets. And some of the midget wrestlers will be say, yeah, you can call me a midget because that's what I am. I'm a proud midget. And it's kind of like proud on that word. But yeah, that word, the R word, and also a word called the word cripple. Like, I don't like that word either. I've learned a lot in the years from different people and how words hurt. And that word is actually a very hurtful word also to some people, just so y'all know. People that are disabled, people that have limitations, and it's ableist to use the word cripple sometimes in some contexts. So I'm not really trying to come down on Brian, but I just want to make light that there's certain words out there that are very hurtful to disabled people. And the R word is definitely one of them. And the M word is not nice to small people. And then also, yeah, the word cripple is one that I'm trying to phase out of my life too, because it's hurtful also. But all the best, man. I'm looking forward to working with Brian. It's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be fun. My bad. Fiercely saying Halliburton did say they're friends and talk to each other, Brunson. Yeah, I could see that. It's a friendly frenemy friendship. I can see this. I can see that. That's funny, man. Most saying congratulations on 3 hours. I don't think that's something to congratulate me on. Honestly, I wanted this to be a tight little stream. I have stuff I have to do. I'm supposed to run a Hall of Fame meeting right now at 12:30, but I'm 15 minutes over. It's all right. They'll wait for me. Let's see. Hi, Lex. I posted the voters on Facebook Messenger and Discord. All right, let me go look at it. I want to look at these guys. All right, here's the voting results for the MVP last night. So who voted for PASCAL and who didn't? Okay, this is a weird panel. A lot of them are just people that I don't know. There is Reggie Miller on there, and he voted for Halliburton. Joe Varden of The Athletic voted for Halliburton also. Jamal Collier voted for Halliburton, and Steve Oshburner voted for Halliburton. The guys who voted for PASCAL, Tim Bontemps. Okay, Tim Bontemps, good job. Dustin DePirac of the Indy Star, Katie George of ESPN Radio, Fred Katz of The Athletic, and Steve Popper of Newsday. Thank you for splitting it the right way, voters. And Reggie, shame on you, man. Shame on you. Maybe it's just because he has more time with Tyrese than PASCAL. And he's like, man, I got to be loyal to Tyrese, man. I've been his buddy since he's been a Pacer. And like, man, he's my dude. I don't really know PASCAL as well. I don't know. Reggie, shame on you, man. You should have voted for PASCAL. Come on now. I'm just glad that went that way. Dat Canadian here. Good to see Dat Canadian. Was PASCAL SIAKAM actually the perfect forward to pair with Tyrese? The reasoning I was saying earlier, the reason why he's good for it is because in some ways they take the load off of each other for their deficiencies. SIAKAM in some ways is not a clutch player. This is a topic we talked about. He's gotten better, but he's not totally a natural clutch player. And Halliburton is. Halliburton will take those big shots and hit game winners at the end and really help them. And that covers the deficiency for SIAKAM. Meanwhile, Halliburton has deficiencies in certain ways in his leadership and some of the things he does. So SIAKAM kind of covers up for those in his department for things. Some of it's bread and butter, steady, consistent offense that you can rely on throughout the meat of the game. Halliburton may have a little bit of streak shooting going on, and he may be cold for the first half and then warms up late in the game, and he's not there in the beginning. Well, SIAKAM's got to set the table and get that scoring going to keep the Pacers in the game and keeping their head above water with the team they're playing against. So there is a good fit there for the lack of what each other lacks is in the other person. That's what I would say there, Dat Canadian. Good to see you. Adapt to you, sir. Adapt to you. Cat talks too much shit. He fakes injuries. Exactly. In some ways, he's a loser, and I have more respect for FIBA Cat for elevating Dominican, but not NBA Cat. In some ways, I lost respect for him when he went to New York. I didn't mind him in Minnesota. I didn't really pay much attention to him. But when he came to Toronto and they beat us and he gloated on our floor before the game was over, I was like, fuck that guy. And ever since, I've always looked through him as being immature and being a little bit more braggadocio than his success should allow. Because you haven't done enough in this league to be acting like this. Seriously, I will say that. Chriscom saying, not sure if anyone said this, but having Miles Turner is the biggest factor. Stretch 5 unlocks the best of PASCAL. Yeah, we did say that, Chriscom. We did say that, and that's part of it. Wayne saying, LexCon, we're family. No damn apologies. We argue, debate, disagree, and agree with each other. Cheers. I love you, Wayne. And I know that you're a mature person that can understand a disagreement is not a fight. It's just a difference of opinion. And I feel like your points are valid. And I'm trying to see what you're seeing. You know, maybe I thought that SIAKAM was hitting a wall in the last couple of years with the Raptors because the progress wasn't happening in the way I thought it should have. And the points when we really needed him to, and it was frustrating. I'm sure it was frustrating for him that he wasn't exactly the hero coming out in some of the games with the Raptors from the Tampa year into the last couple of years he was on the team. And I mean, you have a fair point about that. But I would like to say some of it's not surface level. It's really deep inside the progress and the continued growth of NBA players. Some of them do not progress, but I'm telling you, it's not in Siakam. He's too much work, and he's thinking about it too much. He cares about it too much. That's what it is. Most saying, once a Raptor, always a Raptor. That's right. That's right. Reggie saying, via Brian Winders, Raptors have ambitions to make a major move this offseason. Okay, I won't totally believe it until I see it, Brian Winders. Not me saying it's Brian Winders from Hoop Collective. Well, we'll have to see. I mean, if there is a move to be made, I'll trust Messiah in doing it, but not any jabroni who's writing it on the line. Anybody who has ideas about what the Raptors should do from their front office, you can just go ahead and hold your tongue. We'll wait and see what Bobby and Messiah do. And that in some ways, their plans, they're going to know better than any of y'all. And if there's so many different options as far as trading picks or free agency or draft or even trades, I'm not trying to speculate what they're going to do. They can do it, and then I'll tell you how to react to it afterwards. But I'm not going to try and speculate what they're going to do ahead of time. It's too wide open. And what a waste of content in some ways. Brian Winders is saying, they're going to try and do an ambitious move. Well, we'll have to see. Maybe they will. Maybe there will be something like a Kawhi Leonard deal coming this summer. I doubt it. I hope not, because in some ways I like the crew we got right now. But if they do it, it better be a calculated risk, just like Leonard. Because seriously, what a risk to trade the most loyal and honored Toronto Raptor at that time, DeMar DeRozan, out of the heart of your team. If you do something like that, it better be a big shakeup like on the Leonard level, and an NBA championship must be competed for this year for the Raptors. So I say this right now, Messiah and Bobby, if you're thinking about something big and ambitious like Brian Winders is saying, they better be competing for Larry O'Brien this year and not waiting. And they may be thinking this. Could it be that the success of the Kawhi trade for DeMar has emboldened them to be more ballsy, to do something really crazy ass, and they will trade somebody we had no idea they would be willing to trade this summer? And then all of a sudden, we do have a really crazy chance to try and win? It's not likely, because in some ways, the cast of characters around the Raptors right now is not the veteran core that was around the Raptors at that time, which it lends to, like, we're this close to a championship because we've got Kyle Lowry, Serge Ibaka, and a couple other guys. We add Marc Gasol. Boom. We have a veteran core. We have an overall young crew that is going to need time and seasoning before they can get to that escalator to the top of Larry O'Brien. So in some ways, the calculations may not be there for that kind of a move, like a Kawhi move for this year. And that's what I say. If they do make a huge ambitious move like Brian Winders is overturing here, well, it better be something that's calculated very smartly. And I don't think it's right, because the team is too young right now. We're not ready. It's like we're a fruit on a vine and we're not ready to be picked. In some ways, if we were further along and we were showing like this is closer to actually being competitive for a Larry O'Brien, then I would say, yeah, make that trigger and do an ambitious move, a big move like a Kawhi trade. But I wouldn't do it now. I wouldn't do it this summer. This may be a move that you do not next summer, but 2 summers from now, depending on how the team's doing and how they're coming along with the growth and development. That's what I say there. Yeah, I just checked. Coloco posted Pascal on his IG stories. Good. He should. Stargate saying 5 minutes ago. Is that months or minutes? 5 minutes ago. I don't know. I don't know what that 5M was. Dat Canadian saying, I was torn between holding on to Siakam and help him mentor for Scotty or letting him chase the chip. What if he got both? I mean, seriously, I think Siakam had a huge impact on Scotty Barnes in the time that he played alongside him. All the stuff that I was saying earlier, DeRozan code gets passed from player to player. DeRozan passed the DeRozan code to Siakam as it was passed from Mamba mentality from Kobe to him. And that Mamba mentality, DeRozan code gets passed from Pascal Siakam to Scotty Barnes. And that's Scotty Barnes passes what he learned from Siakam and Van Vliet to Jacoby Walter and Jamal Shedd. It perpetuates itself going forward in the franchise. And in some ways, that's how Toronto Raptors culture is built. And I love it for that. I think that he did mentor Scotty, that Canadian, and he got good, valuable time with him enough early on in the early stages. I do. Yeah. 5 minutes, man. 5 minutes. That's what it is. 5 minutes ago. Okay, 5 minutes. Stargate saying, please, healthy, We beat the Knicks. Recently, we kept playing the Knicks, significant players missing. That's why they were beating us. That could be true. Also, there was, like I said, there was high ref manipulation in Knicks games with the Raptors in the last 2 years. There's partly the reason why they have an undefeated record against us in 2 years now is because they have been manipulating the hell out of that series with us and wanting to make sure the Knicks are above us in the Atlantic Conference, in the Atlantic Division. So that's part of it right there. That's part of it right there, man. Yeah, Trevor saying Knicks wake up this morning realizing they pick and they pick shit and now they're crying. There you go. I love it. Classic cards coming very soon. Stargate saying they have midget hockey leagues though. Yeah, but that's more of a term for that. And in some ways, I'm just going by what little people have told me, man. It's a slur. And in some ways, if you're using it in that context, that's different. That means like children, and that's kind of a hockey league. But in some ways, it's like, I would say don't use that term too often, is what I'm saying. In the right context, you can. Like if I'm in a wrestling group and I'm talking about midget wrestling, that's historically what it is. If you're in hockey circles and you're going to talk about midget level hockey, okay. But I'm just saying, in any other context, you probably shouldn't use that term. I'll just say that. In some ways, that's like being mean to short people, calling them that. That's not nice, man. Stillman's still here. Shaq dropping the F-bomb in the final words of their TNT show was classic. Yeah, I love that too. That is sad. The era of TNT covering the NBA is over officially, and it goes out with Siakam holding the trophy. Landry Shamet hitting a 3 is the last point scored ever in TNT history. And Reggie Miller and them signing off. It's very sad, honestly. It's very, very sad. But once again, something gets closed down, and PASCAL SIAKAM is there to close that place down, like Oracle Arena and the dynasty of the Golden State Warriors and dynasties in the NBA in general. Times change, and Siakam has been there for it on these. And TNT, the golden moment for Siakam at the end of TNT's broadcasting era. That's sad, man, in some ways. But wow, it's good to see Siakam on top at the end of another ending. That's right. James saying big ups to PASCAL. I'm rooting for either team to win the championship. Yeah, we can't lose up here in Toronto this year for either team winning the championship at this point. I'm so glad it's two likable teams. So glad. Wayne saying I can only cheer for one team. And when my home team plays and I'm a supporter of my home team, I have blinders on. Once a Raptor, always a Raptor. Doesn't work in my world. Pacers versus Raptors. Who do you cheer for? Well, of course I cheer for Toronto. Of course I cheer for us against the Pacers. Consistent. Yeah, there's definitely a hierarchy here. But if I'm going to have to choose between a team that doesn't have a Raptor, which is the Knicks, well, they did. They had OG. If I'm choosing between a team that doesn't have a Raptor and a team that does have a Raptor, I'll probably root for the team with the Raptor. Just historically. All right, let's do the classic card real quick. Man, you know it's a good day when I got the championship ring out. That's right. That's right. Show off that bling, Lexi. That's right, my guy. That's right. Okay, we'll do this one. This one's funny. This is a good one. We're talking about legacy players today. Let's go ahead and go with this one. Here we go. Here's the classic card of the day. Remember, I accept full name answers. No half-assing. If you put a half answer in there, you get seagull, like a French fry at Ontario Place. It came and took your French fries out. That seagull comes, it takes it. So here's the player. Can you tell who that is? Hey, look, Rick Smits is on the card even too. We were talking about him, Indiana Pacer, Rick Smits. But who is that player on the card today on the classic card? This is an interesting one. I want to see who knows who this guy is. It's very, very interesting. I gave a clue for a second there. You might be able to figure it out because of my clue. So who knows who this is? I don't want to give a clue. I just want somebody straight up to get this player. I know. You all may forget who it is. Boom, goes the dynamite. He didn't spell it right, but he got the right player. It's Michael Thompson, the father of Klay Thompson, guys. That's Klay Thompson's dad. He played center for the Showtime Lakers in the 80s. And, well, this is part of the reason why Klay Thompson's in the league, because he had an NBA player training him from a very young age, just like Jalen Brunson and Rick Brunson. Michael Thompson, Klay Thompson. Yeah, good job. Smooth got it. Slug Deezy, you're just in behind. I know that you spelled it correctly before, and even Smooth didn't even spell it right on the retry either. There is an H in there. What should I do, guys? Should I split it in half and give half the points to the two top players in the classic card? Because I feel like they both kind of got it right there. You know, let's see the career of Michael Thompson. A lot of years in Portland and on the Lakers. And you see a lot of years averaging double digits. So he was a very solid center forward there. Very solid. He was a backup on the Lakers most of the time. What the hell? Slug Deezy saying, what the hell? What the hell? You just said spelling matters. I know, but he got the name pretty. How do you guys think? But not smooth and slugged easy. How do you guys want me to do the points here? You would split it. Autocorrect's no joke. Half the points. That's what Rob's saying too. All right, I'll half the points. I'm going to give a 200 for this one, so I'll give 100 to both you guys. So you guys are both getting 100 today for Michael Thompson. Yeah, I'm sorry, Slug. I know you may be getting a little competitive because I said what I said earlier, and you're like, I want to catch him, and he's kind of like coming in here. But he did get the name in first, even if he spell correct kind of screwed him up. I know. Maybe you know what? This is why I still need David. Because if David just is an outside adjudicator as the commissioner of trivia, he could just make the decision and y'all won't be mad at me. You'll be mad at him. But alas, David is gone. And I am the commissioner of trivia at this point again. Yeah, that's fair. Half the points. All right. And somebody Stillman, you want to be the commissioner of trivia? All right, let's see. Stargate's saying this. All right, what do you say here? Me too. I'm a Raptors fan. I'm not rooting for no other team. I'll be happy for certain players who I respect, but I'm not rooting for no other fan base. They weren't cheering for us when we won. Some of them were. Some of them were. There were a lot of fans that were cheering for the Raptors championship because they hated the Golden State Warriors. You know, seriously, there were a lot of Laker fans that were on the Raptors bus during the championship finals. Seriously, because they just hate the Warriors that much. You know, you'd be surprised how many fans out across the NBA of small market teams like the Pacers, like the Timberwolves, like the Grizzlies, that have fans that will root for the underdog in the situation. And in those situations, we did have a lot of people rooting for us in our championship year because they rooted for the underdog team. They wanted to see something different. They wanted to see a champion in Canada. And they thought it would be cool in their head. They're like, man, that'd be cool if Toronto won. That'd be so out of the blue and random. So you'd be surprised, Stargate, just how much support we did actually have when we were leading up to it. That's right. Let's go. All right, let's see. Stargate saying also, we were playing Golden State in 2019. All those fan bases were rooting against us, all of them, including OKC and Indiana. So I'm good. We'll watch the games for them, but don't care who wins or losses. I don't know if that's true, man. I don't know if that's exactly true. You know, Memphis was rooting for us because of Mark. They traded Mark to our team, and Mark they wanted him to win a championship, and he got so far in the Western Conference with the Grizzlies for so many years, but didn't get anywhere. In some ways, Memphis fans were kind of like, "Oh, we're dying," but go get him for us. Oh, and then they died. It was like, "Go get a Mark for us." And when Mark Gasol won the championship, he's even said on the podcast with Tony Allen and Zach Randolph that when he won it, he did it with the Grizzlies on his heart. That he won it with the Raptors partly for the Grizzlies franchise and the work he had done before with them. And that in some ways, his championship win-in with the Raptors was for Tony and Zach too. So let's not get it twisted, man. You know, maybe Spurs fans weren't rooting for us because of Kawhi, but there were a lot of different fan nations that were on our side against the Warriors at that time. There were a few for sure. Most with Team Lex. That's right. Mo's first for team also. She's first with team also. We are birds of a feather that flock together like that. And that's why Monique and I, we're usually in alignment on our opinions because we put the Raptors first. We don't put any player before them. Some people may be Scotty fans more than Raptor fans. That's not me. I love Scotty. I want Scotty to be the most successful Raptor in the history of the Raptors ever. But when it comes right down to it, I will pick the Raptors over a team over any individual player. Any person like the coach and even Masai Ujiri, any individual person, I will always pick the team, the franchise over any of them because that's what means to be a real team fan. Fair weather fans will be fans of players and follow them from team to team. Not a disrespect to Cool Cat because Cool Cat is a pure PASCAL fan, but also a Raptors fan, true and true too. But there are fans of people like LeBron James that have been turncoats for Cleveland back and forth. And then Miami, and then gone to LA and just followed LeBron wherever he went. And they weren't really a fan of any team, just an individual player. I don't like those kind of fans. They annoy me. They really do, especially when they pick the dominant player in the league like LeBron James. It's real easy to be that kind of fan, honestly. Real easy to do that. That's right. All right, we got to wrap it up, man. I'm at 3.5 hours. This is almost a 4-hour stream. This is crazy. Fiercely saying, W stream, happy Sunday, fam. Many WNBA games today. My fantasy lineup is ready. Awesome. I see you got the lead over Cool Cat right now in our WNBA fantasy. I'm leading over Logical Raptors Fanatic. Got over 100-point lead on him. Meredith is beating James right now. We also got Trucker Kaz losing to JP right now. And Kareem is winning his matchup doubled up plus over Edmund. So good luck. It's the last day of the week for week 2 of our fantasy WNBA. So make sure your lineups are set up today. Get on that waiver wire if you can too. That's what I say. Stargate saying those are individual exceptions to the rule who were supporting the Raptors, but the general fan bases were against us. Okay, maybe we're looking at this differently. I mean, we could take percentages of each fan base and how they're rooting for who in the 2019 finals. You may be shocked, honestly, because a lot of people were sick of the Warriors at that time and they wanted to see something different. So you may actually be shocked, Stargate, about how much support there was for the Raptors to win the championship in 2019. You may be actually very, very shocked. You know, they have these maps that they come out with where they show the support for the teams in the whole regions. And there'll be something stupid like Philadelphia Eagles, the only place they're rooting for the Eagles in the whole entire country is in Pennsylvania. And the whole rest of the country is rooting for Cowboys or something like that. If you saw the map for who was rooting for who in the 2019 NBA Finals, you may be shocked to see just how much Raptors covered the territory across the United States. Seriously, if there's only 2 choices and some of them really hate the Warriors, they're going to pick us. Now, you may be right, and it's different on individual level with everybody. Now, it's not like different nations came out outright and said, yeah, we're just behind them. Although Grizzlies Nation pretty much did do that. They did pretty much do that for Gasol. You know, there may have been other ties on the team in certain ways that people were like, yeah, we can get behind this. Like the city of San Diego got behind them because of Norman Powell and Kawhi Leonard and say, yeah, we want to root for these 2 guys because this is where they're from. There could be people in Rockford, Illinois, and parts of Chicago fans that were rooting for our team because of Fred VanVleet. So I know that you're always like, it's us against them. But in this case, that wasn't totally true in the rooting interest for the NBA Finals in 2019. I don't think it was totally true like that. Fiercey's got us on blast. I love it. Wayne's saying Pascal's such a class act and likable person. I saw he wasn't eager to beat us when he played the Pacers, unlike DeMar, who was giddy when beating us and throwing things backcourt when we won. Love Pascal. Yeah, I don't know. That's different DNA. Maybe that's a little bit different. I mean, in some ways, the loyalty thing, can we not fault DeMar for wanting to get back at us? He said his most satisfying dunk he ever made in his entire career was a dunk he made on Chris Boucher in one of the first games he came back to play against us as a Spur. He dunked the hell out of it on Chris. He posterized him. And he said that was so satisfying because it was symbolic. Chris came after him and he got a ring on the team sitting at the end of the bench. He never played with Chris. So in some ways, Chris and DeMar didn't cross over. In some ways, Chris didn't get the DeRozan code directly. He may have got it from Lowry, though. But that's the thing. I can fully understand DeMar DeRozan wanted revenge against us for trading him like that. And that's a different situation. So him being gleeful and that like that, it smacks of McGrady and Carter coming back as villains and doing that. But in the case of DeMar, I forgive him. And I'm like, you know what? You deserve to be able to do that to us because we did you wrong in some ways. And that's why even the whole thing with DeAndre DeRozan, I'm not mad at that. I don't get mad about that. I say we're even. And in fact, when that happened on this channel, you can see me in the reaction to DeAndre DeRozan the next day. I said, DeMar, I hope you know we're even now. We traded you for Kawhi and we won a championship without you, but your daughter just came and ruined a season for us in a play-in. And in fact, not only ruined a season, we lost our coach and our point guard that summer after that, and they never worked for us again, partly because of the failure of your daughter yelling and screaming at us during free throws in the play-in. I said, we're even now. If it had been acrimonious leave like Vince Carter or Tracy McGrady and their child came to the game and screwed us up, I would hate them so much. I wouldn't turn the other cheek and be like, you know what, it's tomorrow. We got to allow this because we did him wrong. So it's a little bit of a different action in some ways for me. Maybe I am too much of a DeMar DeRozan fan and some other people aren't like me like that. Well, I would say you should be because honestly, we owe so much to him. We owe so much to him. So I can understand why he was salty like that. I can understand that. Stargate saying Raptors first above all. That's right. Ray Kion's here. Big up, Raptor Freak. Big up to you, Ray Kion. What going on, man? What's going on with you, man? You've been good. I've been wondering how you've been doing. Stargate saying, sorry, Lex, I don't see what you see. I see them all hating on us. Well, I hate that you have that perception, man. And maybe I can give you a little life lesson. Our perception is our own reality in our head. And honestly, we make our lives. And if we want to make it out that everybody's out to get us, we'll live that life. And I can't live my life like that right now. There's obviously people out there that are out to get people. But in some ways, I have to believe in the good of people also, and that there are good humans out there that are trying to do the right thing and are benevolent and kind and humanitarians and putting a hand out to help people instead of smacking them down or just trying to get more money out of them through profits in some sort of weird way. Nah, I mean, I feel bad for you in some ways, Stargate, because if you have this perception as everybody's against you, man, it will shape your world and it'll be tougher to live in, man. So you have to have allowances for allowing people to be on your side, bro. Is what I'm saying. And I remember, because I was paying attention to this very closely during that time, there was a lot of support for us. And you may not have seen it, but I did. I did see it. And it was in other places. It was in social media. It was on the press in the States in some ways. And you may not have perceived it, but it was there. Trust me, it was there. Part of it is that I was working in the convenience store at the time when we were on our championship run. And I talked to a lot of customers every day. I'd probably talk to about 500 people every day. And I talked to people that were fans of other nations. I talked to Golden State fans. I talked to fans that were just in town, like visiting Toronto because there's a tourist spot. And they came from other places. I talked to a Pelicans fan from New Orleans one day. And they came into the store and they said, you know what? I wish that y'all will win. I don't want the Warriors to win again. And I actually like you guys a lot. I root for the Pelicans. They're my number one team. But in some ways, I really like the Raptors. They're fun to watch. And I think y'all are really underrated. So maybe I was just getting more of the word of the street from people because I was in an international neighborhood called Kensington Market, a tourist spot. And the whole world came to me during that time. And I was able to hear voices, diverse voices, not just from Toronto area, but from around the world that were tourists that were coming to town and maybe coming in to get a bottle of water while they walked around Kensington Market. So that's what I say there, right there. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah. But either way, like I said, it's perception in some ways is becoming reality for a lot of people, but reality is still reality. And they can try and force perception on us to accept as reality, but reality is the truth is still the truth. In the end, that's what I'm saying there. Yeah, I would love to see that map. Someone can post it in discourse. You know, maybe somebody could dig it up. There may be some sort of rooting interest map out there for the 2019 finals. Go search for it. It may still exist and be out there, and you may be shocked to see it. You may very well be shocked to see it because you got to remember the Warriors were wearing out their welcome in the finals. It was so boring to see the Cavs versus the Warriors every year, and this was a breath of fresh air. And some of the fans turned to rooting for the Raptors just out of fatigue over the Warriors being there all the time. Does that make sense? You know, and once again, a lot of our smaller markets in the league are underdog kind of fan nations, just like ours. And they feel like they get shat on and overlooked just like us in a lot of those cities. And they, in some ways, see our play, just like we may see Denver winning a championship or one of these two teams that are in the finals going for it. And we root for them because they're not the normal team that gets doted on and promoted by the NBA, like the Lakers, the Celtics, the Bulls, the Heat, all those teams, the Knicks. So a lot of us smaller market teams band together and root for each other when we do have success. I know that's part of the action for why I would root for Indiana over the Knicks. So I don't know. Either way, I'm way over. I need to finish up right now. Let's see. It's not that serious, bro. It's basketball we're talking about. That's right. I love you, man. And once again, just like with Wayne, I really appreciate and respect that we can have mature discussion, disagree a little bit, and kind of come around and allow each other to have the differences of opinion. But hopefully what I just said fleshed it out a little bit. I even had Warriors fans coming in during the final series wearing jerseys, coming into the store while we're playing them in the finals. And they were very respectful, kind people. Honestly, they were like, man, it's so fun coming here to Toronto to play you guys. I just drove from New York City 8 hours as a Warriors fan to come to Toronto to this finals game tonight. And it's like, we're both talking trash a little bit, but it's all very playful and nice and you know, that kind of stuff. I think there's actually a clip of it on the Kensington Variety VIP Club show of me talking to a Warriors fan during the NBA finals on the old variety show that I used to do. And if you see that clip, you'll see how friendly and warm the exchange was between me and the Warriors fan. And then it was like to the best team win is basically what we said when we walked away from each other. So, yeah, it's an interesting thing, man. That's right. That's right. Wayne's saying only basketball, Lex. Stargate, I figure, is just about basketball. We're not like English football where there's real hatred. For us, it's just basketball likability, not life. Yeah, I agree with you guys. Yeah, no need to go into the life lessons. Oh, the only reason why I say this is, and this is only for like, I'm on a course of life trying to improve myself to be happier because I have a proclivity to be very negative and jaded and think negatively and put myself down and hold myself back, that I've learned over the years to allow myself to open my thoughts to maybe my perception is holding me back. And maybe I shouldn't be playing psychologist right here, but I'm just saying, I know, and I agree with you on a lot of the conspiracy theory stuff that we talk about. I agree with the Leaf stuff. I agree with a lot of the things about prejudice and discrimination and race that we talk about. But I'm doing this as a friend, as a humanitarian. If you don't want me to critique you in any kind of way, I apologize. I'm just saying that people that perceive everybody's out to get them in life, in some ways that is hurting themselves, and they don't need to do that. I've done this myself. I've had chapters of my life where I felt like everybody is out to get me, and it didn't serve me right. And I have to allow the opportunity to allow myself to say, okay, you know what? There are people out there that actually genuinely care about me, and they're looking out for me. I should maybe put that label on you is what I'm saying. But the action of saying, oh, they're just all out to get us, all the other fans in the NBA hate the Raptors, that's kind of what I'm talking about here, is what I'm talking about. Don't just assume that. There's a lot. I mean, I had one of my best friends in Florida, his son, he's really pissed off his dad because they're Warriors fans. They're from San Francisco. One of my best friends in Florida was a Golden State fan, huge fan. And his son grew up and he wanted to rebel against that. He became a Raptors fan. He lives in Tallahassee. He ain't got nothing to do with the Raptors except for me. And in some ways, he saw me and he's like, man, Alex is such a great Raptors fan. I love that team. I'm a Raptors fan, Dad. I'm sorry. What? You are disowned, son. You are not my son anymore. You're a Warriors son. What are you doing? You'd be so shocked. And, you know, we got people in town in this stream like Nins, who lives in Philadelphia. We got Bryce, who's down in Kentucky, who's a diehard Raptors fan in the middle of Bluegrass State, this Kentucky Wildcats. You know, we got to allow for people that are huge fans for us all over the world is what I'm saying here. Yeah. It's all love. And the only way I come at you is not in criticism, is in love, to maybe help you see an aspect that could benefit you. That's all I'm saying here. Yeah. Wayne said, no apologies, Lex. We accept our idiosyncrasies. I love this, man. Man, you guys have been MVPs today. I'm going to give both you guys, Dunks, Wayne, and Stargate, for, man, we are showing how to do this right. In some ways, people need more good examples of intelligent discourse that disagrees, allows for disagreement, and moves forward. I'm not saying I'm right in any of this that we're talking about today. You guys may be right, and I may be completely wrong, but we're allowing for everybody to be heard. And that's what is important right here. That's right. 78 for Stargate. And we got Wayne up to 45 now. All right, let's wrap it up. I know I have some tabs I didn't do yet. Did they give us refs for WNBA yet today? They're really dropping the ball. They're falling asleep on the ref assignments. They should have told me the refs already. Let's see. Today's straight goods on Canadian goods. Speaking of SIAKAM being spicy and being just on fire, let's talk about Smokes Poutineery, guys. Y'all know Smokes Poutineery is a Canadian poutine restaurant that was founded by Ryan Smolkin in 2008. They opened their first location in Toronto. It's not been around that long, and they expanded. They had lofty goals. They wanted to make there be locations around the world. They wanted to have 1,300 locations by 2020. That did not happen, sadly. And but they did open a lot of locations across Canada and in the States. Most of the locations in the States failed. The U.S. was not ready for a poutine restaurant, which is too bad. But Smokes is fantastic. Sadly, Ryan died 2 years ago. The founder of Smokes Poutineery, he passed away from complications during his surgery, and he was only 50 years old. So that's pretty sad. But yeah, their headquarters out of Ajax is a purely Canadian company. So if you want to support Canada, and I want to tell y'all some good news, seriously, the tariffs, it backfired on Trump. Canada is stronger than ever because, listen, we did what I thought would happen. In the first quarter of earnings in the economy of Canada, the GDP went up 2.2%. So instead of weakening our economy with their bullshit, Donald Trump actually got us to do what we're doing and buy more Canadian, and we've strengthened our economy since. So good job, Canada, buying Canadian goods. It's working. And instead of our economy hurting for Trump's bullshit, we've actually strengthened our economy by increasing our GDP by 2.2% in the first quarter of 2025. So kudos to y'all. High five. Buying the straight goods on Canadian goods. It's working. And Smokes Poutineery is in that restaurant group that I say go eat at and support it in the memory of Ryan. That's right. There you go. Boom goes the dynamite. That's right. We got Chev in New York. We had that guy out in LA that was a fan of the Raptors. Him and his wife came all the way out here. I forget what his name is. What happened to that guy who was doing a YouTube channel? Him and his wife came to Toronto. I think they were kind of Dallas fans too, or something like that. I don't know. We've got more fans out there than we realize. We really, really do. That's right. All right. Continuing with my tabs. I did the Instagram stories. Raptors Reddit reactions. Nothing really that interesting on here. A lot of celebrating Siakam is what's going on. Somebody has hindsight 2020 saying, remember when we could have drafted Andrew Nebhard, but then we traded the pick to Spurs for Thaddeus Young instead? Hindsight's 2020, bitch. Get over it. And the comments are doing it right. They came after this guy and eviscerated him. They absolutely destroyed this guy in the Reddit comments, saying, oh, well, what, you could have done this. You could have done that with your life. Why don't you shut up and quit whining is what they said. It's so good. I love it, man. I love that action's coming at them. And more people are kind of saying, yeah, you know what? Stop doing this hindsight's 2020 bullshit. Happy birthday once again. 50th birthday, or no, 60th birthday to our guy, Brian Colangelo today. Brian Colangelo, former GM of the Raptors, is 60 today. Of course, Brian drafted DeMar DeRozan. He drafted Jonas Valanciunas. He drafted Andrea Bargnani. He drafted some of the big names in Raptors history, and we appreciate you, Brian, for doing a great job drafting for our team. And we appreciate you doing a horrible job drafting for the Philadelphia 76ers in the late 2010s. So, Brian Colangelo, you're an honored and loved former Raptor GM, even if your failures and misgivings and problems happen in certain places. And I love that you came back this season. We're around the Raptors during our 30th anniversary season. You did show your face and come around, and you did interviews for our shows, and that's fantastic. Y'all didn't know this, but Brian Colangelo came this close to becoming Canadian, but then he left right before the job was done. So I don't know if he's actually Canadian at this point. So yeah, there's Brian Colangelo. Happy 60th birthday. Of course, he's a legacy NBAer too because of his dad, Jerry. All right, we're done now. I'm really done now, and I know I'm at 4 hours. So this is crazy. I appreciate everybody watching me on the evolution of PASCAL SIAKAM. His journey came from an unknown place where he never even really intended this life. He kind of fell into it. In some ways, you could say it's a fluke. In some ways, you could say that he won the lottery of life because of chance. And this happened, and it all laid out for him like this. I think that is absolutely true. That Masai Ujiri was absolutely crucial for PASCAL SIAKAM to get anything to happen like this happened for him. And that Toronto also was a part of being absolutely crucial for this. So Siakam, I appreciate you. You are a Raptors legend. You will be an eventual Hall of Famer. You are a champion. You are a leader. You're an Eastern Conference Finals MVP. And we are so proud of you. The evolution of Siakam is awesome. If you're watching me and I'm not live, ×2 or ×1.75 or ×1.5 is a good speed, especially if I'm going to do 4 hours. So I appreciate you guys. Stargate saying, Chris is from Top Line Sports. He lives in Dallas, not LA. He and his wife came for a game. He is originally from Dallas. That's the guy, Chris. So he's from Dallas, but he also has proclivities as a Laker fan, as he was kind of a Laker allegiance too, along with the Raptors allegiance. That's right. That's Chris. That's right. That's his name. And his wife and him came up for a Raptors game one year to Toronto, and they enjoyed their time in the city. All right, y'all. Kiss the ring. Let's go, Raptors. We the North, baby. Let's go, Raptors. I'll see y'all tomorrow for Monday Memory or Monday Moment. 9:30 a.m. Raptors Streak out. Let's go. Get your team set up. Let's go, Siakam.